And we've been doing this, I think, long enough where I don't feel that pressure anymore. I'm like,
No.
I kind of like talking about inner show stuff sometimes.
Absolutely. We'll get the random text once in a blue moon in the first segment, like, hey, is this a sports show? Are you going to do any sports today?
Piss off. I don't care.
We've been doing this show for 10 years, man.
Yeah.
Are you new here?
Yeah.
Earth to Matilda. We goof around for a few minutes to open up at 6 o'clock in the morning. What do you want?
Go listen to Mike Francesa. Like, go kick rocks. That
could be a word. That could be a loss. That could be a word.
But I wanted to start the show. I felt a big responsibility yesterday afternoon in doing show sheet stuff. I felt an obligation to start the show. Something was said on this show yesterday that I kind of just glossed right over. Something was said on this show 2 days ago that I just kind of glossed right over.
All my good takes, huh? You're bringing them back today?
Well, coincidentally, they are you. The first take yesterday, Swag missed this one because he was out. The first take was the anti-Florida State argument for the playoff because they've lost their quarterback and they struggled to beat Florida this past weekend.
Yeah, everybody's riled up about this one.
And I thought about this yesterday, and I started laughing in my car out loud by myself because 28-year-old Dirt would have taken 34-year-old Dirt out of the studio and pummeled him.
Definitely would have.
Because there's no chance Oregon in that same position would be having that opinion exist with Dirt.
Yeah, well, usually when our backup quarterbacks play, things go disastrously wrong. So maybe that's part of my pain and suffering here, that you like the second a backup quarterback has to come into a game forever in Oregon history, we lose. That's usually what happens.
That's a fair point.
We don't win games with backup quarterbacks. We blew a 31-0 lead in the Alamo Bowl. Remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah, I was watching.
Vernon Adams had a 31-0 lead. He got hurt. They blew a 31-0 lead.
I do remember that, and I guess I sympathize with it, but I still thought younger you would have hated that take.
For sure would have.
I also want to go 2 days back where we talked about gambling and getting a group of people together to gamble on something and how ultimately if there was no determination of what to pick, Dirt says he's the deciding factor because his job says so.
That's right.
We got a text during that show that we never aired over the airwaves from his buddy Nick.
I think this is fake news. I don't remember any of this.
Who said
I deny all these allegations.
Last time I listened to Dirt, I picked Chiefs over Broncos in the Survivor pool, and it cost me.
Yeah, I don't know what he didn't ask me who he should take that week in the Survivor pool. There was no consideration. If you're just taking random opinions away from the show, that's different. If I say I think a team's going to win, that's not the same as taking them in a Survivor pool.
And that's okay. But the reason I'm bringing these two things up, and you might be going, where the hell is he going with this? You've also been like chastising yourself because your hairline's creeped back a little bit, because you wear a sweater that's massively thick and warm and somebody on a YouTube stream called you fat. And I've dropped the ball a ton here because when I had my first kid, I was 25. I didn't have a single friend. I didn't have any family member. I had nobody in my life that could actually sympathize or understand 25, having a kid, and it's your first kid, like the pressure of it, everything behind the scenes that nobody hears about. And I've dropped the ball here. His wife's baby shower is Saturday. I'm just going to assume all of this is you acting out. How is it going? Are you doing okay? I haven't checked in with you enough. And as a friend and co-host, I remember being in your spot, and I had not a single soul. You might have been 20 years old when all of my thing was happening.
Yeah, when your first kid was, what, 25? You were 25?
I was 25 years old. So you were 22 going 23. Yeah. Like, you were at strip clubs. You didn't know what my life was.
No, I was having a good time.
I had nobody to talk to about this. It was really hard. Are you doing okay? How is life for you right now?
Are you saying all of my takes are lashing out because I'm terrified of having a child and what it's going to do to my life? My takes are getting spicier by the day. Is this your theory?
I've been thinking for like the last week or so. Your aura is very like, I don't know, like stress and everything in your life behind the scenes. You're just lashing out publicly.
Yeah, I think we can all agree, something we've all been through, that dealing with a pregnant woman at home is, it's a thing. It's a thing, and she's doing a great job. She's doing an unbelievable job. I love her dearly. But it's intense.
There
it's
it is.
intense from time to time.
There's the but.
There's a lot going on day to day when I get home. There's a lot of texts. There's a lot of worries. There's a lot of calls. What about this? What is this going on? I tend to be a very level-headed person. I try and take the football coach approach to life. I try and not worry about things that are out of my control.
Right.
Like there's things that you and I and all three of us could get into on this
I thought you
business.
meant motorcycle accidents and burner phones.
Touche. We'll get to that today.
Petrino.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that. Yeah. Pork and cheerleaders. No, I'm not quite doing that. But I try and focus on the things that I can control. My wife is the exact opposite. She is not that way in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And so basically my day-to-day life is like putting out fires from the time that I wake up to the time that I go to sleep. Of like, what about this? Could this be wrong?
Sometimes fires that don't exist.
99.9% of the fires so far,
Right.
have not existed. Now,
Right.
a fire may at some point exist in which we will have to put it out together. But so that adds to a lot of stress. And yeah, I'm going through it, man. I'm going through it.
Yeah.
I know that my life is ending in 2 months. I think 2 months.
No, it's starting.
not
I know
ending.
it's not ending. You get
It's
what I'm
just
saying.
changing.
You get what I'm saying.
I have said over and over, like getting married, if you're with someone for a while before you get married and you've combined your lives already,
Mm-hmm.
getting married is not, it's a cool, it's a celebration. It's like, okay, we figured all of this out.
It's
now.
not any different than what
It's
you
really
were
not
doing.
any different
No.
day to day, unless you're old school and now combining your lives for the first time and figuring that out.
Sure, we never lived together kind of thing.
But
yeah.
having your child is the ultimate life-changing event.
This is exactly my point.
Mhm.
I just said my
So-
life's going to change. You said, no, it's not. And then
No,
you said
no,
it's the ultimate life-changing event.
You said your life was ending.
It's not ending's not the right word.
Life-changing.
You know I don't mean that.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
You know
we know
I mean.
what you mean.
But yeah, there are moments that I just sit around every day, like when the wife's gone and I'm not putting out fires left and right, that I'm just like, this is it. This, these kind of days are no longer going to exist. I have been able to do. I'm 34 years old. I have been able to do whatever I want, whenever I want to do it, my entire adult life. I have a wife who is incredibly understanding. She allows me to play way more golf than I possibly should. She's not one of those that's like, you got to be home, get home. She's not one of those. She doesn't nag, nothing like that. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want to do it, to a certain extent, obviously. And that the idea of that going away is a little terrifying.
It is.
And I have brief panic attacks every day when I'm sitting around the house. I'm like, oh, you kind of catch your breath and you're like, all right, this is going to be a big deal.
Have you figured out how to attach the baby bucket to the clip gear push cart?
Oh, you know you're going to take your kid golfing.
Oh, for sure. We're going to get there. Yeah. It's going to just be once you get through, I feel like the first however many months of just pooping and crying and pooping and crying and pooping and crying.
It's unfortunately, it's almost like 20 months.
Sure, it's a long time. Not a lot of sleep. Like we're hoping
The
for
scary
sleep.
part is when they start to get mobile.
See, I think that's when it gets. That was when I started to really like it. I love my kids more than I can put into words. I think babies suck. Hot take. You
I was
hold them,
not
they
down
poop.
with the
That's
whole.
it.
Well,
Like,
we
it's
had it.
boring.
Looks like an alien.
And then they wake you up at 1 a.m. And you're like, I gave you milk. What do you want? Your diaper's
No.
clean. I don't know.
Unfortunately, Pax had a few more issues in his younger years than the average child.
Sure,
too.
some people
And
deal with a lot,
Oh, they're so precious when they're 2. No, they're not.
No.
They're really not.
No, they're not.
Look, there are certainly days, you're right, where
This is the funny part
the
about
motor doesn't stop, and it's like, just let me watch this thing, please.
This is the great thing that I'm excited about with parenting is that you throw out your fears and your concerns about what this is going to be like. There's an immediate pushback of like, no, it's the best thing that ever happened
No,
to you.
I'm not going to lie to you.
And then it transitions slowly into, well, just shut up, baby, go to sleep.
No. When they start to be able, one, to communicate with you and let you know more specifically what their particular issue is, that helps out tremendously. The guessing part, when they're just screaming and crying and pooping and not making any sense, that's infuriating.
What do you need? Talk to
And
me,
then,
baby. Talk to me.
And then when they start to actually formulate thoughts on how the world works, at least with the world that they've been exposed to so far, that's the most interesting thing.
Yeah, that I'm very excited for. I wish there was like a way to just fast forward to like 3 Like just get to that
Sure.
point where we're
You
talking,
find out
and
what they're interested
functioning,
in,
and-
what grabs their attention.
Yeah, they're playing
what
sports,
they think of things,
like that stuff.
how
I'm excited for.
perceptive they truly are. That's fascinating,
Yeah.
and that's the fun part.
It's the one thing, and I know your parents were a little older when they had you guys,
They were,
right?
Yeah.
And I commend people that do that because my wife has one of her best friends so we're 37 and then her husband I think is 40. They both have really good jobs. They live in the Seattle area. They like every month or every 2 months they go somewhere. Like they went to Croatia, they went to Mexico, and they went like Vegas or something like within a span of 6 months. And they've always kind of out loud said, we might have kids, we might not. And I've always told my wife, 0.0% chance of having kids. Because eventually you get to an age
Yes.
where what you're talking about, you've lived how you've wanted to live.
Yeah.
When you have a kid, you can kiss all of that stuff goodbye.
It's all gone. That's
It's
the life-
Disneyland.
yeah.
You laugh at it, you
Not
make fun of it.
No, foot's down. We're not going to Disneyland.
Your vacation
Not
when
happening.
Smudge is like 7 is Disneyland.
Smudge can go to Oaks Park. That's good enough. They have roller coasters and a haunted house. Okay? That's all you need. I grew up on Oaks Park. He can grow up on Oaks Park too.
Want to go fruit booting?
Let's go rollerblading, okay? Who needs It's a Small World after all? It's right down the road.
Yesterday I thought about your Florida State thing. I largely agreed with what you were saying, but I did if Dirt was flipping that and that was Oregon, there is not a chance in snowball's chance in hell that the position is no, if they go undefeated and win their conference, kick them out of the playoff. And I thought, I bet you part of this is there's always a lot going on in our own lives that we don't know. We don't know what's going on at all times.
Sure.
And I wanted to check in with you because I know from going through it twice, once when I was way too young, pregnancy is a journey. And it's a harder journey for them, but there are things about the journey for us that are like, oh, God, there's so much going on in our own brains.
Yeah.
I needed to do a check-in.
There was a stand-up special I was watching the other day, and the guy was talking about his wife being pregnant, and he opened with the line of, she was pregnant for 75 months. Not quite that long, but that's what it felt like.
It sometimes could feel like
So
that.
I think I'm in month 62.
Yeah.
We're inching up closer. And then on top of all of this week, my mental health is at stake on Friday night. So on top of everything else that's going on in my life, I have you texting me lines about my team being barely an underdog against Georgia.
Oh, we'll get to that today.
And it's just I can't, everything's colliding at once.
My
All
take
of
is
this
gonna be
stuff is
right.
happening. And it's just, I'm overwhelmed right now, man. They better win please win on Friday. Please win tomorrow.
I'm gonna laugh.
Please win tomorrow. I can't do this. I'm not showing up Monday if they lose. I'm pulling a meringue. I tore my hamstring. I'm not coming to work.
Make a promo out of it then.
I get a promo? Can I fake it? I rolled my ankle playing golf.
The Ducks lose. Where's Dirt? I can already hear the promo in my head.
He's on the lam. Nobody's seen him in 72 hours. I don't know.
Tune in 6 to 9 a.m. Dirt and Sprague.
He's on his way to Canada to get some maple syrup. The guy had a mental health crisis.
Well, let's see what kind of stressful takes we can get from you today. We have a lot to get to. 2 guests. Chris Fetters. I almost called him Corey Fetters for some reason. Chris Fetters, dogman.com. He's going to join us at 7:30. So we'll do the preview for the championship game. We don't really want to have a guest tomorrow, so we just thought it'd be better to do it Thursday. And then Ken Barkley's going to join us his usual spot at 8 a.m. He's all over a team in college football that I'm actually super out on. And it might sound dumb to a lot of you, but I kind of want to challenge him and maybe make a nice little fun bantering bet.
Oh, let's go.
A little beer bet.
Interesting.
Little Venmo beer bet. He can Venmo me when I win it because he's wrong.
Oh.
And he can explain his position on it. So we'll get to that at 8 a.m. It is a loaded show. I want to start with something that I don't know how to categorize. The gross things in sports is what I'm going to go with. We'll start there. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. The Fan.
Tiger Woods is back on the golf course. Always good news to pass along.
Yeah, buddy. I spent my afternoon, speaking of things you can do without children, watching a 40-minute Tiger Woods press conference.
I don't blame you.
That's how I spent my Tuesday afternoon.
See, that's you aging, though. Like, that was fun for you.
Oh, I loved every second of
There's
it.
nothing wrong with that.
He was talking about the merger, his golf game, Charlie.
yeah.
Nobody likes Jay Monahan. I'm surprised he's still in charge of the tour.
Seems like his
I
days
am
are
too.
numbered. He seems like once they get this deal done, you're going to be like, all right, see you later, Jay. Thanks for that.
I got to explain to my wife why she should hate Duke last night. That was actually a lot of fun. We watched Duke, Arkansas
that was
together.
a great game.
It was a good game.
Did Musselman take him down?
He
Musselman
did.
took him
they
down.
almost
Good.
blew it
They
at
did.
the end because they
Pig
couldn't
suey.
handle the press. But
I've also come to say that I will never like Duke. Duke can burn in hell for all I care. I like their
got a
coach.
job
I
review
like
coming up?
Shire.
Careful about that.
No, boss knows how I feel. We're North Carolina Duke. It's a playful banter thing.
I'm all Carolina.
Yeah, me too. But Shire's he's likable. I was like listening to his
Yes.
interview at halftime, and I'm like, I think I like John Shire, and I just hate everything else.
Yeah.
I think that's acceptable. Like,
Yeah.
you can hate an institution, but like individuals that are a part of it.
Like I always root against Notre Dame, but I really like Freeman.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've hated the Warriors during this run, but who doesn't like Klay Thompson?
Right.
Well,
Or
How do you not-
Steph.
I
Or
mean, I like
Steph, even.
Steph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not like
You want to beat them
Yeah.
Sure.
because it was like how it was way back in the day, the Drexler Porter Blazers. I couldn't stand the Celtics. Like I knew how good Larry Bird was, and he just wanted to beat him so bad because you never did.
No, he beat you with a left hand.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. what
And
are
then
you
he'd
gonna
tell
do?
you about it.
Exactly. So it was kind of fun to explain like Duke, and then the end of the game, I took a shower real quick, and the game felt like it was over, but it wasn't. And my wife comes upstairs laughing. I go, what's funny? She goes, they just showed a kid on his dad's shoulders, and his shirt said, Duke sucks. And she goes, that was probably you as a kid. And I'm like, you're damn right it was.
That's going to be Smudge at Husky Stadium in 5 years. Did you see the Eagles fan, by the way, at their Bills game this
Oh,
weekend?
yes.
The little kid Eagles fan?
Going to the
Oh, yeah.
parking
He
lot.
walked up to shake the hand of a Bills fan after the game, and then gave him the
the bird.
bird, and then gave him the
Gave him the
bird.
bird.
How
Yeah.
funny.
Teach him young, baby.
Well, those are fun. Let's talk about the gross thing of sports
Ooh,
very
okay.
quickly here.
Yeah.
How about two stories in sports that I find disgusting for
Apparently
different
you
reasons?
can always go home again.
Josh Giddey is still playing basketball, and I'm baffled by this. I don't
Yes.
know how anybody in that organization is sitting well with this. Like their coach was asked yesterday,
Well,
what about this He says, I cannot comment on off the court. Josh will play. And I'm like, what if we come out to find that he actually did that disgusting thing? You've got to look in the mirror and just feel awful about yourself. You didn't step in and say, how about you just sit out? We'll pay you. Let the investigation take place. That's gross. And then Arkansas says, well, watch us.
hold our beer.
Let's bring back the guy who slept with a staffer that he got a job for, gave her $20,000 while she was engaged, by the way, to another athletic department staffer, and may or may not have actually been in a motorcycle accident. He may have gotten his ass kicked.
He definitely got his ass kicked. There is no doubt about that. And then he put on a fake neck brace to try and pretend as if he got in a motorcycle accident after he got his ass kicked. The other one that you could throw into this conversation that we haven't really talked about this year, Miles Bridges is just back and going on rants of like, if I play hard, the fans will forgive me. And then I saw a post-game interview of his the other day.
They gave him there was like half the arena gave him a standing ovation in his first game this year.
This is why, like, dude, every fan base is this way. We're all gross. We're all disgusting. And you just hope that if your fandom ever reaches this pinnacle, that you have the ability to separate yourself from the cult that is the other people that root for the same team as you and wear the same colors as you. The Giddey thing is wild because from what I've read, I think TMZ had the report the girl's not cooperating with the
Neither is
investigation.
the family.
Neither is the family, which we all know what that means. And so if she's not cooperating, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what the authorities can do.
I don't know
if
what
they
you
don't
do.
have evidence, and most of it would be
It's all circumstantial
from
of
her
it's
testimony.
it's a social media post. Like that's the only evidence that you have. And so I don't know how I'm with you. I would sit him down. I think it's gross that he's playing, but if she's not going to cooperate, legally I don't know what you do there. The Petrino thing.
I did a poll question on this last night. Let me
Yeah.
throw it out real quick.
What are the options?
So I said Arkansas. I knew it's a super random poll question, but I saw him on my TV. He's mucking it up with the donors and Pittman's next to him, and they're laughing. And I'm like, how is this guy just not thinking about how this ended the last time?
Sure.
Arkansas bringing back Bobby Petrino as offensive coordinator is, and you can fill in the blank here, gross, weird, desperate, good offense, smart. Smart is dead last, by the way.
That's right.
11%.
That's where I would vote. I went smart.
Really?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, see, I saw a blurb on it that his the players they have at Arkansas actually don't match up with his offense.
Sure, he's gonna have to go. Well, I think their quarterback and their running back entered the transfer portal yesterday.
I think Jefferson denied that.
Okay, he
I might
denied
be
that?
wrong, but I
Okay.
thought I had saw a thing that he denied that. This is setting up to me 0-3.
They're gonna
Pittman's
hire him back,
fired, and
dude.
he's going to be the head
Yes.
coach.
And the last 2 seasons he was at Arkansas. You know what their record was?
I mean, they were really good.
they were 21-5 in
Yeah.
the SEC. They
There's no
competed
doubt.
for SEC championships when he was at Arkansas. I don't blame them for going this route. You know what matters in
Really?
SEC football? You know what matters down there?
It just means more.
Winning is all that matters.
Woo, pig suey!
That is all that matters. And Sam Pittman and his man boobs are not getting the job done right now. They decided to let him stick around for another year. But if he's below 500 again, look, I don't care. You got to throw your morals out the window,
No, you
okay?
don't.
Winning is all that matters in the
No.
SEC.
What I
Get her done.
I think this is weird. I voted weird.
I mean, it definitely is weird. The guy porked a staffer and then got beat up, and then they fired him for it. After, you know how hard that is to get fired in the SEC for off-the-field conduct after you won 11 games at Arkansas?
You know how hard
He won 11 games. That tells you how bad the thing that he did was.
That's a good follow-up poll question. Do you know how hard it is to get fired in the SEC when you're 21-5 at Arkansas?
Dude, every program down there goes through this. If their guys get in trouble, it's like, just hope it's not a nuclear bomb.
I think Adam Silver needs to be thanking whoever he worships every day, because the fact that that guy still is playing every night for Oklahoma City is blowing my mind.
Yeah, there was a report, too, I think that he got some speeding tickets. She's a California kid, I guess.
Yes.
And in the neighborhood, he got like multiple speeding tickets this summer in her neighborhood, which then, of course, led to people drawing more lines of, okay, he's clearly there. He's clearly staying with her. That's a thing.
I know I don't know, man. I don't even want to talk about it. It's so uncomfortable.
Yes.
I know he's
She's
young,
16
but like,
years
how did
old.
he meet her? I don't know how all that stuff's working. But
Yeah,
two really gross things in sports to me.
very, very gross.
Arkansas and Petrino, Oklahoma City, and Josh Giddey.
Pig suey, baby.
Let's go to the NFL. I actually have a thing of
There's nothing gross there.
not at all.
No.
Not in what we're going to talk about coming up next.
No, nothing at all.
Niners, Eagles. Also, point of contention with Dirt on our Twitter account. I want to ask a question to him about that, and then we dive in Niners, Eagles next. But for Swag with a sports update.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Red Tail Golf Center's annual store-wide holiday sale now through December 24th. Details at golfredtail.com. First on the Fan, despite an offer to join Jonathan Smith's staff at Michigan State, Trent Bray felt an obligation to his players and his alma mater, and thus was introduced as the new head coach of the Oregon State Beavers on Wednesday, despite all the uncertainty regarding the long-term future to remain a Power 5 program. Meanwhile, a little over 24 hours before the Ducks and Huskies rematch in the Pac-12 championship game from Las Vegas, Oregon holding his 9.5-point favorites for the 5 o'clock kick right here on the Fan. Seahawks playing on Thursday night for a second straight week, clinging to the final playoff spot in the NFC. Kickoff against the Cowboys in Dallas, set for 5:15 on Prime Video. Dallas 9-point favorites. Seattle running back Kenneth Walker III is doubtful to play. Trailblazers continue their road trip this evening in Cleveland, looking for a third win in their last 4 games. 4 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Portland currently 11.5-point underdogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. College hoops in Corvallis tonight. Beavers looking to get right, hosting UC Davis for a 7 o'clock tip on Pac-12 Oregon. Beavs currently 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Well, Andrew, we've got a massive NFL game this weekend, 125 window. My daughter has a tree lighting event for her school choir, and I'm one of those dads that, like, I go to everything, and I still don't know what time that thing starts, and I have this bad feeling in the pit of my stomach that it's going to be like a 3:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock-ish thing.
I would think 5 because you want it to be dark when you light the tree.
Yeah, it's got to be
Oh,
in
that's
the
a fair
evening.
point, yeah.
You're not going to light the tree at like noon. Kind of defeats the purpose.
But I do a
What tree are we lighting?
Happy Valley City
Okay.
Hall or whatever.
Oh, okay. But it's like the whole school's going to help light the tree or something?
And the choir is. Yeah, they
Gotcha.
sing songs and then they light the tree. And
Okay.
it's a fun event.
Yeah, sure. You get in the spirit.
I
Just not during 49ers Eagles. Come on. Priorities here.
also do a gambling show Sunday night. And
That's your excuse. You get out of it. If it's at like 5 o'clock, you got to work, man. You got a show to do.
Well, yeah. So I don't know. I think she'd be devastated if I didn't go. But massive NFL game. Niners, Eagles. It's the
Yes.
only game to care about in the afternoon window, unless you're a diehard Browns, Rams, Bucks, and I forget who they're playing fan. Where are you at on that matchup? I know you said last week or Monday, I'm hammering the Niners. And it flipped from 1-point dog to open to Niners 2.5 to
Yeah.
even 3 in some places. Favorite. I feel like the Eagles are a good tease there this weekend, by the way, because
Sure.
that's got to be a close game. Where are you at on it?
I love the 49ers this weekend. I've already locked in a bet at 2.5 because we looked on Monday and the lines in places were 3.5. I logged on to DraftKings and the line was at 2.5. And you get them less than a field goal. I'm gonna jump on that. I know that there's concern about taking teams on the road as a favorite. It's just weird in the NFL. And Philadelphia is an unbelievable team. I just have been on the train now for a handful of weeks. I think San Francisco is the best team in the NFL. They went through a minor blip in that 3-game losing streak in which one of their best weapons was out of the lineup and their best offensive lineman was out of the lineup. You could argue the best offensive lineman in the entire NFL, and you're not going to get a lot of pushback on that. Trent Williams is unbelievable, and Deebo Samuel is incredibly important for everything that they want to do offensively. They love throwing it to him, the screen game. He runs the football like he is a huge part of that
He's
offense.
a good blocker, too.
He's a great
actually.
blocker down the field. Like, you take those equations out, man, like, yeah, you're going to struggle a little bit. But I think when you look at the numbers almost across the board, how San Francisco has played and how Philly has played, the 49ers, it almost kind of reminds me of a Ducks and Huskies thing. Like, it doesn't mean that Philly can't win the game, but they're incredibly fortunate to be 10-1. They've won a lot of games that are tight, close. This last weekend is another example. We all gambled on them when they played the Cowboys at home. They were incredibly lucky to win that game, and that's even as somebody who cashed an Eagle ticket that day. You left it saying, probably shouldn't have won that bet, but I'll take it. I'm not going to complain about it. The 49ers, when they have played good teams, have pounded them into submission. I know the Seahawks had a brief little comeback at home on Thanksgiving night. Dude, the Niners were smoking them in the first half of that game. Look at the difference in the Dallas games. They both played the Cowboys at home. The Niners took it to them. The Eagles were lucky to win. The numbers across the board, the 49ers are a better offense. They score more points per game. They're a better defense. They allow fewer points per game. And the ironic part, like we talked about Jalen Hurts earlier this week, and I got called a racist for saying he's not an MVP, so that seems like a fair criticism. But this is the point that I'm trying to make about Hurts. Do you know who has better numbers passing across the board than Jalen Hurts, and it's not even close?
I will assume the conversation's you're going to tell me Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy has the highest QBR in the NFL. He has more touchdowns, fewer interceptions, higher completion percentage, more yards per attempt. The only difference is Hurts has 11 rushing touchdowns.
Does he rush for a yard?
He does
quite like
not
Jalen
have
Hurts?
11 quarterback sneak rushing touchdowns. But it's just hilarious to me that and I would never do it either because he's a product of the team around him. And this is the argument I made about Hurts earlier this week. Brock Purdy's he shouldn't win the MVP. I'm not going to give him the MVP. I just find it funny how different narratives exist. I think the 49ers have been looking at this game for a calendar year, and the Eagles ran their mouth, rightfully so, after winning. But the 49ers have said, hey, we had to play without a quarterback who could throw a football. We had to run the Wildcat for the last 3 quarters of that game, and you're going to run your mouth and make fun of us for losing? I think they're out for revenge this weekend.
Well, don't forget, Deebo also ran his mouth in the offseason and said we would have beat you if we had our quarterback. And that's one thing to say. It's another thing to actually have done it, and you haven't done it yet. You get your opportunity this weekend.
They do.
And they're obviously going to use that a lot for fuel in Philadelphia. Let me ask you very quickly, because I want to throw something to Swag.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I understand the Brock Purdy, look what's around him take. I took it last year. I liked what he did, but I said, I don't know about this. Let's see what it is. And he made me a believer pretty early on.
Hey, you put him on the Cardinals, you're not getting that.
I still don't think he's the Mahomes tier of I know Mahomes is a bad example. I don't think he's in the top tier of if things are not around him, he's going to single-handedly win you a football game.
Yes, I would put those top 5 guys, right? That can carry a team kind of no matter what is around them.
But I do find it interesting that he has had to suffer this narrative and Hurts hasn't. It's Hurts.
MVP.
Maybe the best receiving duo in the league or one of the top receiving duos in the league. Best offensive line in football. Incredibly gifted skill position guys at the running back and tight end positions. Defense has been, largely at the top most of the couple years he's been having this run. And it's just Hurts. Look what Hurts does. And then Purdy in San Francisco was like, well, I don't know. I find that very interesting. Swag, is this the NFC Championship preview this weekend?
I believe so.
You think both these teams will meet again? Whether San Francisco or Philly, I don't know. You think this is going to be a rematch eventually?
I do.
I don't know if I'm there. I'm wondering if this season's going to give us where unders are hitting and random team like the Cardinals beat the Cowboys and beat them convincingly.
Mm-hmm.
In a season where we're having weird things happen and quarterbacks are just injured all across the board. I don't know if this
barring quarterback catastrophe.
Would you bet on it though?
Yes, I would bet on
the
this
rematch.
Yes.
I would 100% do that.
Not large amounts, but yes, I would bet on it.
Because I wonder with the Cowboys Cowboys at home. Sorry to cut you off there, but Cowboys at home in a couple weeks. I'm curious to see if they play tough again with Philly and if they can beat them. Because there might be something to the mental side of that.
The Cowboys would have to go on the road eventually.
Well, potentially. So here's the interesting part about it. Now, I do think the 49ers will finish likely ahead of Dallas because they have that head-to-head win and they're not playing again. The Cowboys are going to get a chance to avenge that Philly loss, in which they almost won in Philadelphia. They get them in Dallas, as you point out here, soon. We've highlighted Philly's next week. We've highlighted Philly's schedule. It's not like you start with the 49ers this week, then you go to Dallas and you go to Seattle, which I think they'll probably win.
Yeah, but Seattle's going to be desperate at that
Seattle
point.
Could be playing for their lives,
Dallas,
right? And I know I zig-zagged on them losing that game yesterday, but it's the NFL. Nobody knows what the hell is going to happen. Where Dallas has a chance with a win tonight, and if the 49ers win, the Cowboy fans are rooting hard for San Francisco this weekend. If San Francisco wins, you're only a game back in the division. Only a game, and you host them in your building next week. So that being said, though, I would still take these two teams as the best. I need to see Dallas do it in the playoffs. I've seen Philly do it in the playoffs, and I love Detroit. I love Man Campbell. But boy, oh boy, the last 2 weeks have not been good, man. And it's hard to get the Baltimore game out of my mind of just going on the road and getting worked like that.
How about Jordan Love and Thanksgiving?
Yeah, that's just,
what was that?
And then after you get past Dallas and Detroit in the NFC, what else you got? I mean, you got scrap meat, man. Yeah. It's nothing. Minnesota, Seattle, Atlanta,
NFC's not very good when you talk about it out loud, is it?
You could make an argument that there's maybe 3 good teams in the NFC. I that's a little unfair to Detroit, so I'll give you 4. But there's 4 at most good teams in the NFC, and everybody else is just, we'll see what ends up happening.
That's the tough thing is trust. What teams do you fully trust? And I know there's Dallas Cowboy fans out there, and they'll get their opportunity next week. If they beat Philly, maybe there's going to be a belief like, we can do this. We almost beat them at Philly. We beat them at home. Maybe there will be a belief.
They got to beat the 49ers at some point, though. That's the problem.
I think largely, and the Niners at home are
dominated them.
Juggernaut.
Yes.
I think largely the belief with NFL fan, no matter the fandom, if you're really honest with yourself, I don't know how much the trust is there outside of San Francisco, Philly.
Yeah.
To win the conference and go to a Super Bowl.
I think for Cowboy fans, look, the Eagles game, they'll be up for it. It's at home. They're going to have 10 days to get ready for it because they play tonight.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that, the extra days.
If you want to know if Dallas is for real, then the next 2 weeks they're at Buffalo and at Miami.
Ooh.
So if they show up,
those are good follow-ups.
And they're serious and they're all in and they get wins or play games right down to the wire, it's like back and forth or whatever, then maybe you say, okay, maybe this is different this time. The Eagles game they'll get up for. It's a division game. It's at home. Blah 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 blah.
But do you lay an egg afterwards?
What do you do at Buffalo and at Miami, teams that are going to have to get those wins to try to improve their playoffs position?
I'm in no way trying to act like I'm an expert in any way in gambling. That's why I took the Bills at 3.5 last week. I was just like, look at the schedule. There's going to be a tight, barely win it game in that run for the Eagles. Buffalo was definitely, I still think they should have lost that game.
Yeah.
I can't believe Buffalo lost it. But they are the Buffalo Bills, and they're 0-6 in overtime. Let me ask you quickly, we'll go on this, because I really am jacked for this game.
I'm glad you pointed out that the rest of the 1 o'clock slate sucks.
It's
I'm
terrible.
not watching anything. That is going to be a solo game.
Do not red zone Sunday afternoon.
No.
Just watch that game. You can get an update on Browns, Rams. Again, if you're diehard, okay. But
Sure.
I'm not interested in watching Joe Flacco against Matt Stafford in L.A. with half Brown fans at that stadium. We are very college football heavy here, like massively. Where is that game on the weekend of football for you? After Oregon, Washington, I will be honest, that's easily one.
Yeah, I would put Georgia, Bama 2.
You think Georgia,
Slight
Bama
edge.
locally is bigger for
Maybe not-
fans?
I do think locally, because if Alabama wins, there's chaos scenarios that could exist.
Okay.
So I do think locally that one is a slight edge at number 2.
Florida
and then,
State, is that one in this conversation?
I don't think so. I mean, I think you're rooting for Florida State to lose, but I'm not excited in any way, shape, or form to watch that game. I will be watching, but I'm
Yeah.
not excited to watch
Like,
that
I'm
game.
going to tape that Eagles 49ers game because the Pilots play at 1 in the afternoon on Sunday. So it's going to be like, don't tell me what's going on.
I won't
Like,
text.
I
We won't
wanna
text the
go
group.
home
Me and Dirt will text each other
later that night and tell Will, Will will be freaking out in the studio.
Well, he's a degenerate, so you need to tell
I
him
know.
to shut up.
Hey, I'm taping this.
Ortner,
I'm gonna
be
go home and
quiet.
watch it. What's the Sunday night game? Is the Sunday night?
Packers and Chiefs
Oh,
at Lambeau
yeah,
Field.
whatever.
Not exciting.
Not exciting.
Although Packer fans, maybe you got some belief now in Jordan Love. That he looked really good on Thanksgiving.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I
quite
will
good for a
tape
couple
that
weeks in a
one
row.
and go home and watch that from start to finish.
I'll put a poll question on that. I'm curious where that does stack up for football sports fans in our area of just like what's on the docket, what you're most excited for. All right, coming up next, an observation of this player, and then we will get to some Pac-12 championship dealings. Trent Bray, don't forget we got Trent Bray audio to get to from his press conference, and we've got Chris Fetters of dogman.com as well. Dirt and Sprague, we're back with more on 1080 The Fan.
is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Coming up, something Dirt is going to hate a lot. He's a scary Barry.
I am scared. I'm shaking in my boots over here. We're arguing about playoff scenarios in the break. What happens if Florida State wins, Alabama wins, Texas wins? What's happening?
I shouldn't have been surprised. I legitimately was a little surprised how fired up and passionate you were. I thought it was a good conversation. I had a lot of fun on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't expect that conversation to go almost the whole show.
I think our wheels are every Oregon fan's wheel is turning. I mean, you have to win on Friday for any of this to matter, and that's not a guarantee. So if they don't do that, it's all a moot. But none of this stuff is guaranteed in my mind.
Oh, see, I think if the Ducks win, I think they're in.
Riddle me this, Batman.
There is a good scenario, one that Dirt threw out during the break, and I hate doing this back-to-back days.
Sorry.
But you weren't here, so
Yeah.
what do you think in this scenario?
You're on
okay?
the committee.
Yes.
You tell me who your 4 playoff teams are, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
Michigan wins, they're in.
Yes.
Florida State wins, undefeated, they're in.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Alabama beats Georgia. One-loss SEC champion is not. You can shake your head. They're not getting left out of the playoff.
They're in.
A one-loss Alabama with a win over Georgia, who has not lost a game in 3 years. They're not getting left out of the playoff.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's the 4th team if Texas wins and Oregon wins? Because Texas has a head-to-head 10-point win in Tuscaloosa over Alabama. So can the committee look in the camera and say head-to-head when they sent fans for the exits early in the 4th quarter in Tuscaloosa? That doesn't matter. You have the same record as Alabama. We're putting Alabama in, and
I'll
not
say
you, and
this.
Oregon gets a spot.
Despite that win Texas had over Alabama, the committee, since the first rankings, has Oregon as the highest ranked one-loss team.
You're not wrong there.
They beat an undefeated top 4 ranked team in a conference championship game.
Texas fans would riot if this happens.
They really
They
would.
would burn their city
But
down.
the committee's not going to leave Oregon out.
So
They're just
Texas gets the shaft, says
Texas,
you beat Alabama.
Head-to-head
but
doesn't
get outta
matter.
here.
You beat Alabama by 10 points in Tuscaloosa.
I think Alabama gets the shaft. I honestly do.
Oh, yeah, there's
Wait a
no
minute.
chance that
Who
if
would get
Alabama
it?
beats Georgia, there's no chance
Who
they're
would
not
get
going
it?
to the playoff.
Texas. I think Oregon and Texas are in that.
The SEC
case.
gets left out of the
Yes.
playoff?
You think that committee has the balls
Yep.
to leave the SEC one-loss champion out of the 4-team?
Yes.
Not
Which, by the way-
in hold on, what world?
Now you're
Hold on.
fired up about it,
They
too.
said
in what world has this committee indicated they will do that to the SEC? They gave Bama a shot, and they didn't even go to the conference championship game.
Yeah, Auburn lost the conference championship game, and then Alabama went despite losing to Auburn.
They didn't even go to the title game of the SEC, and they made the playoff, and then they won the
based
title.
on what they have said with their rankings all season long since they started doing
Do
it.
you know what they've said?
Now
Because
that
publicly, they've not said
it's
anything.
gibberish.
this
It
year.
doesn't make any
Luke
sense.
Harrigan, it's awful.
The other fear factor, though, in this is what 8 and 4 team is still ranked in the back end of the top 25 for no reason.
It's got to be an SEC team. Tennessee.
Tennessee. This,
So
you
is
know where they
Oregon
were ranked?
State.
Well, Oregon State, sure. Oregon State should be ranked.
Oregon State's like 21st. or
Oregon
20th.
State.
Oregon State should be in the top 25. Tennessee is the number 21 ranked team in the country. You know who's not ranked as an 8 and 4 team?
Utah.
Who has a comparable opponent who they beat and Tennessee lost to? Utah.
Yeah.
So everybody looked at that and said,
You know
That's
that
one
they're
more
biased.
quality win
Dude.
for Alabama and Georgia. And Utah's no longer a top 25 team, so it's not a quality win for Oregon.
Swag. Kazarian worked for ESPN for like 12 years. He acknowledged in an interview they're absolutely biased. That committee is not leaving out a one-loss SEC champion.
Well, and this goes back to the point I was bringing up about Florida State yesterday. And
God, I would love it, though.
People poked holes in the theory because they used the Ohio State 2014 argument against me. And I said yesterday, if Florida State beats Louisville this weekend 59-10, nobody's arguing that they don't deserve a spot in the playoff. That's what Ohio State did. Everybody said Ohio State's done, their quarterback's hurt. And then Cardale Jones and that Ohio State team beat Wisconsin 59-10. If they eke out a win against a Louisville team who I don't think is that good, this is why I brought that argument up. Because somebody's going to get screwed, and you cannot look at me in the eye. If this scenario
You can't
plays
screw
out,
them.
and this is where I just simply disagree, because there's nobody on this planet that would take Texas to lose to Florida State, Alabama to lose to Florida State, Oregon to lose to Florida State, Washington to lose to Florida State. Nobody, if they barely beat Louisville this weekend, there's nobody that would pick any of the other teams in the top 7 to beat Florida State or to lose to Florida State. Excuse me.
I didn't get to talk about Zion Williamson.
Is he having a good year?
He's having a great year.
Is he still going
Or
after
the
porn
Orlando
stars?
Magic.
What?
Magic are on a heater.
Dude, Magic are a good little team. They play defense, too.
This is what our future looks like? We just got to hit on 5 straight drafts? So 2032, we're going to be loaded?
You wait.
I can't wait, dude.
You wait.
Scoot's now a top 10 power-ranked rookie. I saw that
Are
yesterday.
there any more Wagner brothers floating around?
Any more Wagners?
Remember when fans rooted for meaningless wins and we lost a chance to get Paolo Banchero? That would have been cool. Remember that? I can't handle the losing. It's too much.
I do remember that.
Remember that? We're like, yes, we won 4 in a row before the All-Star break. It's Simons. Yeah. Things are going great.
Well, that kind of sums up football season in a nutshell. I wanted to get to basketball, and we can't even do that.
It's almost time for your sport. We're almost there. It's almost that moment in the calendar.
Mike, should I be doing Dos Minutos yet, or
No.
No.
God, no. Hell no.
All right, you ain't got to be mean. I mean,
Maybe
jeez.
next week is the earliest you can start Dos Minutos. Next week's the earliest.
Swag's giving me the green light here. I might have to do it.
No green light.
Hour number 2, Chris Fetters at 7:30. We kick off the second hour with this. Las Vegas, Nevada, Brandon Sprague. They agree, and it's Dirt's worst nightmare. Hour 2 on the Fan.
Leafs has been Portland's number
Future of building is here.
KFXX KWJJ HD2 Portland. An Odyssey station. Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Redtail Golf Center's annual store-wide holiday sale now through December 24th. Details at golfredtail.com. First on the Fan, Trent Bray had a spot on the plane to East Lansing as the defensive coordinator for Jonathan Smith. but he didn't feel right about it. And Wednesday, he was introduced as the new head coach of the Oregon State Beavers, hoping to take his alma mater into the future despite not knowing what the conference may look like. In over 24 hours, it'll be Ducks and Huskies renewing their rivalry for a Pac-12 championship in Las Vegas. Oregon holding his 9.5-point favorites. It'll be a 5 o'clock kick right here on The Fan. Tonight on The Fan, more Seahawks football, a second straight Thursday night game. They're in Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Seattle clinging to the final playoff spot in the NFC. Dallas a 9-point favorite. Seattle running back Kenneth Walker, the third, doubtful to play. Pregame coverage starts at 3 o'clock. Trailblazers road trip stops in Cleveland tonight. Portland looking for a third win in their last 4 games. 4 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Blazers 11.5-point underdogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan. This time, it's all on the line.
Snap and hand it off. There goes James to the right side. Going to drive hard. Going to get into the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon. Get out of my way. Effort. Jordan James.
This is a Pac-12 Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
I wasn't that long ago before a lot of people told us, hey, we don't control our own destiny anymore. And I think maybe we just do.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2. And, of course, youtube.com/The Fan, 1080 The Fan. I've got audio I'm going to bring to the show. I don't need to say this out loud. I'm going to bring audio to the show that I think is going to make everybody on the show incredibly uncomfortable.
I like feeling uncomfortable.
Do you?
I do.
Like that's a change for you. I feel like that's kind of me making you enjoy being awkward.
Totally is. Like you love golf, now I like being awkward.
Service Patriots podcast is found at 1080thefan.com on the podcast section. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. And of course, you can always reach us at the wonderful, the delightful Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them at vancouverford.com for more details. Chris Fetters, dogman.com, is going to join us. Are we going to get any hot takes? A hot take back and forth between you and Fetters?
You mean to fight Fetters?
Hey, Dogman.
I'm going to take you downtown.
I'm going to put you in the kennel. You're a bad boy. Tuck your tail between your legs. Go lay down.
A great way to start the interview. Go get in your kennel. Fetters, you go sit.
I will pay you.
Bad boy.
I will pay you $3 to start the interview with.
Just start
Tuck your tail between your legs. Go lay down. You've been a bad boy.
Start yelling at him. I don't think I'm going to do that. The uncomfortable thing has grown on me, but not to that point. I don't think I'm quite to that level yet.
We have a lot to get to here in the second hour of the old radio program. I saw something and I chuckled to myself because I thought, yeah, look at me. I'm right. And Dirt hates it. Chris Felica is somebody I've been following for a long time, the Bear. He moved from ESPN to Fox Sports. He does a lot of gambling stuff, but he also very smart. He watches a ton of college football, so I like to listen to Chris Felica. I follow him on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, Chris Felica sent something right my way. Didn't DM me. He just tweeted something that was right up my alley.
At Brandon Sprague.
He tweeted, hypothetical college football lines. So if the playoff is happening with certain teams and certain matchups, what would Vegas think? What would the odds makers make of the matchup? Georgia against Florida State, over 2-tutty difference, 15-point favorite. Michigan against Florida State, 12-point favorite.
Yeah, get him out, man.
Georgia against Texas, 8-point favorite. Michigan versus Texas, 5. Georgia versus Washington, 10. So you want Florida State out. Washington ain't faring a whole lot better against Georgia.
No.
Michigan against Washington, 7. I'll actually take those points.
Yeah.
Texas against Florida State, 7. Michigan against Oregon. Oregon favored by 2. And how about this? The team that hasn't lost in over 2 years, Georgia against Oregon. Georgia -1.
See, we're underdog. Nobody's giving us a chance, man. Got to go in there, prove everybody wrong. Big underdog to Georgia.
It's dangerous to overlook Friday.
Yes,
and
it
you
is.
know that more than anybody.
Yeah, you cannot overlook Friday.
Your team is about as close to a national championship if they make the playoff that they've ever been. I know that sounds crazy because they haven't done it yet, but Vegas is telling you Oregon is the second best team in college football, and their margin is only a point difference from the team that's won 2 straight and beat your team by 46 last year.
Yes, I was at that game. I remember it vividly. Here's what I will do. I will text you Friday evening if results go according to plan and say you were right, thank you. If that does not happen, I'm running away and you're never going to see me again, and I'm not doing the show next week.
Who should I ask to fill in? Should me and Swag on Monday?
Yeah, just two beefs hanging out on Monday. No big deal. I understand where Vegas is coming from because there's just not a lot of teams that can match the balance and the explosiveness and doing it on both sides of the ball as Oregon. I mean, the number's been out there all year. There's only 2 teams in the country who are top 10 in offense and top 10 in defense, and they're Georgia and Oregon. That's it. Everybody else has a strength, right? Washington's passing attack, Michigan's defense. Like everybody else has a thing that they lean on, but nobody else has that to be able to boast on both sides of the ball. And so I think when you have that, it's why Vegas feels this way. I was doing a hit, and I want to get to a couple other aspects of it, but I was doing a hit in Vegas yesterday, and they asked me,
Boy, look at you.
Look at that. I'm a big star now. And they asked me, why should we, if Oregon wins on Friday, and let's say they play Georgia in the playoff, why would this go any different? We just saw this game last year, and it's 49-3. And I said, well, it's an interesting question. I tend to agree with you that Georgia is the best team in the country, and until I see somebody beat Georgia, it's just hard for me to go there mentally. I know they've come close, but when you haven't lost a game in 3 years, it's like, yeah, it's hard to wrap my mind around that. I think the argument would be, one, that Oregon has improved exponentially from where they were last year, right? You look at the additions they made in the portal, how healthy they are late in the season, the depth that they have, and the number of guys that they can play. Tez Johnson has been a game changer for their offense in the second half of the season. So I think Oregon has improved in a lot of categories, but I said the only hope that you have is that Georgia truly has taken, it only maybe a half step back, but they have to have taken a step back. And we don't know the answer to that question yet, because if they come out and they pound Alabama this weekend, I think these point spreads might look a little bit different. But if they're in a close game, they win a 27-24 game, the lines might not change much. But you need both things to be true. You need Oregon to have taken a giant leap forward, which I feel like there's an argument you can make that they have, and you also need Georgia to have taken a step back from where they were last year.
Well, we talked about this a little bit yesterday because I saw this and guys, I know Vegas isn't everything. Gambling's not everything to a lot of you out there. So but what I do is I try to use this as a measuring stick, right? Of what are the numbers saying? This isn't some guy in the back of a casino going, "Whoa, I'm gonna make a line." It's like I think the Ducks are gonna win. Right? They're using every number possible to calculate how they sort the odds out. But Swag and I were talking before the show today, and we had mentioned something of the same kind of topic on the show. Oregon in the world of NIL is the New York Yankees. I truly believe it. I think they just secured more defensive linemen for their recruiting class. Like, they have a wave of talent that school and that city has never seen before. Even with Mario, it's like, no, we're going to be even better than that. Mm-hmm. And nobody would have believed that. I just certainly wouldn't have believed that after that. But NIL now makes a lot of this easier to sort out and figure out. And Swag was talking about jobs and how people bounce around, because Matt Rule came out yesterday in a press conference and said, you want a good quarterback in college football, it's going to cost you $1 to $2 million.
Yeah, we just talked about Cam Moore the other day. He's got 10 offers, according to some, worth $1 million.
Matt Rule is also losing his defensive coordinator, which is massive, because the one good thing about Nebraska this year was their defense. Guess where he's going? USC. That's a huge pickup for Lincoln and the Trojans. And we were talking before the show, Swag and I, about leaving. When are people going to learn? And I said, everything's just different. Everybody's life is different. You don't know the situation that someone's going through. You don't know their aspirations. We look at it from our perspective, go, what an idiot. Why would you go? Well, if you're Matt Rule in Waco and you're trouncing people And then somebody goes, hey, man, what you're doing, you could do that in the NFL. How do you not go, oh, really?
That's exciting.
You start to buy into it and you take the chance. And I think Oregon is at a spot where this world, it's right in their wheelhouse. It's exactly what they needed to have happen for their program to take an even greater leap, and that's to maybe win a national championship for the first time in program history. To tell me today that the gap between Georgia and Oregon, according to the math, is 1 point. I watched them get bludgeoned by Georgia last year. Bo Nix was being booed on Twitter. And now he's going to win the Heisman. And about a year later, Vegas says, nah, there's only a 1 point gap between these two programs now. And that's the team that won 2 titles. I don't know how you're not me. I don't know how. And maybe that's just past trauma coming out.
That's all it is.
And I know Husky fans hearing this conversation go, oh, look at them again. Who cares about Friday?
That's the first thing. You got to win on Friday. If you don't win on Friday, none of this stuff matters.
And that's fine. That's okay. Maybe the Huskies will pull the upset and win that game and finish the undefeated season thing. But that's not how Vegas sees this.
No.
And it's a pretty damn impressive thing to lose by 46 and about a year later only be a 1 point gap between that same team.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, part of this for Duck fans, and I know myself included, it is past trauma. I mean, Oregon, we went into the national championship in 2014. You remember what I was saying going into that game. How did I feel about that game?
I believe that was a 2-score.
That was a
2-touchdown win.
2-tutty spread.
The Arizona game you lost at home was randomly a 3-touchdown win. You lost that outright.
Hey, we at least redeemed that one in the Pac-12 title game.
You did.
And they have a chance to follow suit on Friday, tomorrow. But I think that it's stuff like that, right? You go in, you're playing C.J. Stroud. It's like, man, this is the time. They're actually going to do it. This is the year they're going to win a national championship. And then you get pounded by Ezekiel Elliott. You don't have an answer, and your wide receivers are hurt.
You mean Cardell Jones, yeah.
Well, Ezekiel Elliott ran for like 400.
C.J. Stroud.
Oh, did I say C.J. Stroud? Sorry.
Okay.
Ezekiel Elliott ran for 400 yards, and Cardell Jones was great in that game. So I think that's part of it. It is the past trauma. But to the larger point, though, whether it's this year or you want to just take the 10,000-foot view of it, you could make an argument there's not a program in the country that has benefited more from the rule changes of the last couple of years than Oregon.
I think that's a fair thing.
Like Florida State would be in the mix because they've spent some money and they have largely built their team. Now, it's devastating how their year is going to end.
USC is in this too. They've spent a lot of money. I know they have a good year, but
they've spent a lot of money. I think Oregon, though, going from a team that could recruit at a decently high level, but then adding into the impact of now there's players that are available to go get now that can help you win right away, and it's not just recruiting. Like you look across the board. I mean, like 2 or 3 of your offensive linemen transfers, your slot receiver transfer, your starting running back transfer, quarterback transfer,
offensive line,
your Jordan Burch transfer,
yes.
Kyrie Jackson transfer, Evan Williams go down, Justin Jacobs transfer,
Jackson.
I mean, you go down the list. It's nuts how many guys they have brought in. And a lot of that is due to the transfer portal and NIL. And so that's just an avenue that was not available for you. And this is why I chuckle at anybody who pushes against it or doesn't want to utilize it. Like, it's like the Clemson thing of shutting off yourself from free agency and saying we're only going to build our roster through the draft. Good luck with that, dude. Nobody's saying you shouldn't still build your roster through the draft or you shouldn't still recruit, but you have this other avenue available to pay players and to get guys in the transfer portal. So it came around at the right time for Oregon. And on top of that, no matter what happens tomorrow night, they hired the right guy finally. They tried the Willie Taggart thing. That was horrible. Mark Helfrich was great for 2 years when he still had Chip Kelly's players, and then it crashed and burned. Mario elevated you to a certain extent, but you always felt like there was going to be a ceiling on what you could do. Great recruiter, good offensive line, but the offense sucks.
You figured out in-game stuff was not great.
Pretty quickly on, you're like, dude, call timeouts. Like, what are you doing? Wow, what's going on here?
How about you kneel it against Stanford and not run the football?
So I think that's the other aspect of this that shouldn't go overlooked, is that not only have the rules benefited you and they've changed in your favor because you can now spend money to buy players, but on top of that, you hit on your coaching hire. And it's the exciting thing for me, as scared and terrified as I am of tomorrow and these lines for a college football playoff, of that, dude, these rules aren't going anywhere. The team's only going to continue to add more talent. They're going to keep spending money, and you seemingly hit on your head coach, and those are all really good things to have happen.
Coming up next, a look ahead of the weekend, and why did Dirt tweet this? I kind of want to get the answer to that. Chris Fetter's at the bottom of the hour. We'll get to the Trent Bray audio, probably after Ken Barkley would be my guess. Some of the clips from Trent Bray's press conference, and, of course, Ken Barkley at 8. Dirt and Sprague back with more on The Fan.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Trying to craft the poll question that you laid out the scenario. Who gets the last spot? Does Texas jump Oregon? I still think you win, you're in. And I don't think we'll get to the chaos here in a second.
Yeah, it's just dumb that this I think goes to the point in the argument that we have about with paid. It's dumb that this is even a thing.
Yeah.
And I'll even maintain, I don't like the Washington Huskies in any way, shape, or form. They also have a strong argument, man.
Yes, they do.
They do. Like that's to go if they lose tomorrow, they go 12-1, an undefeated regular season. Their only loss is to a top 5 team in the country, especially if the game is close. They have a strong argument as well.
The funny thing is, if Georgia does lose, Washington loses to Oregon, they would have a better argument than Georgia on resume.
Yeah.
Not, well, they won the last 2 titles. Yeah, that's not part of the equation at all.
Sure.
They would have a better resume than Georgia because they had, I believe at that point, they'd have more top 25 wins. And so, yeah, to your point, I think a lot of there might be some teams that lose or win and get absolutely shafted this weekend. And that's kind of always been the deal with 2 and 14 playoff or BCS formulas.
Well, this has always been my dream of an expanded playoff. We'll see if we eventually get there. But having more pathways, it feels like hopefully more kids will realize I don't have to go to Georgia. I don't have to go to Alabama if I want a chance to compete. I can go other places. I can transfer around. I could go to a Florida State, a Texas, a Michigan. Sure, a lot of it's going to be blue bloods, but I'm hoping there's an evening out of the playing field with an expanded playoff and we get an actually entertaining postseason, which we really have never had in college football.
I don't know if it was habit or you actually were thinking about this, but you usually do our show tweets when you're here. And I saw last night's.
Yeah. What did I say in there?
What Pac-12 games are we picking against the spread outside of one?
I did Pac-12 pick against the spread because we were supposed to pick. We do our Thursday Pac-12 picks against the spread. We got to pick the championship game.
I thought you were just gonna wait for Friday's show.
No, come on, you got to do it on Thursday.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I read picks mainly because I was tired at 7:00. I went to bed at 8:45 last night. Felt amazing.
Yeah, I took the plural out, man. It's Pac-12 pick against the spread.
All right, that's my mistake. I'm an idiot. I cannot read. Did you see that Miami flipped a 4-star defensive lineman yesterday? Did you see this?
I did. This is Mario Cristobal's time of year, baby. This is when he makes his hay.
Did you see the graphic?
I did not, no. Who put the graphic out? Miami or the kid? Or is it like that Hayes Fawcett guy? Because he does a lot of those.
Yeah.
You know that account I'm talking about?
Yeah. Hey, I think it was the Fawcett one. Anyways, it's the kid kind of crouching down, bending his knees with his Miami uniform on, and he's on the beach, and there's just money falling around him.
There it is. Yeah, 5-star defensive lineman Justin Scott tells me he's flipped his commitment from Ohio State to Miami. He's a top 10 recruit.
Look at the money.
He's kneeling on the beach next to an ACC championship trophy,
Yep.
a college football playoff championship trophy, I'm assuming some sort of defensive lineman award trophy.
Sure.
And then a pile of cash.
A pile of cash.
Just a pile of cash,
Yeah.
baby. That's what it takes, man.
Should we just be doing this on all the kids who get flipped as
Yes.
5 stars from one big program to another big program?
Yes, we should.
Okay.
And I think the latest example of how all this stuff's dumb and why anybody who pushes against it, I will argue tooth and nail. Like Jonathan Smith just did this, man. He just bailed on his team in the hardest moment they've been through in the program history, not knowing what conference they're going to be in. A big part of it was the financials. They're paying him north of $7 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
He was making, what, 4 and some change at Oregon State. Maybe you get him to 5.5, 6 if he signs an extension.
Yeah, I heard, I'm not trying to source it too much. It's not a report. I just heard some rumblings that Oregon State was in the 6.5 ballpark.
Sure, so he's making maybe $1 million more a year.
Right.
Plus, he got 7 years, so if he gets fired, all that money's coming his way, baby, unless he takes his you-know-what out on a phone. So don't do that, Jonathan Smith.
I still maintain this is not about money for him.
Yeah, and maybe it's not, but
really
I just,
do.
when you have coaches that have the ability to go chase the bag because of the success that they're having, I want players to have the same pathway. And I get that it's ugly. I get that it's nasty. I get that, some schools are going to get hurt by this. I love that players have the opportunity to get paid.
All the reports indicate Monday is going to be absolutely insane. And I can't wait.
What's going on Monday?
It's my birthday.
Transfer portal and your birthday. Yeah. I would have had no clue. You have to remind me on Monday it's your birthday.
Well, I was more just saying that as a joke
Yeah.
because it's the transfer portal window.
I forgot. I know your birthday's early December, but I don't know what day. I know it's the first week of December, and if I just vaguely wish you a happy birthday, I'm kind of in the clear. But I don't know. I don't know what day it is.
Well, I was more just joking that you had forgotten the portal day is supposed to be Monday. Because the weird thing is, like, we're already hearing, like, Martinez says he's already been up by all these programs. I'm like, isn't this illegal?
Yes, it is. Yes, you cannot do that. You're not supposed to be able to recruit
Though,
players on
when
rosters.
your coach leaves,
Somebody's going to snitch on these guys one year. They're just going to be like, hey, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so.
when there's a change of head coach, I believe that opens up a 30-day window for the players on that team to enter the portal if they wish.
Okay.
Regardless of what the master schedule is for the portal.
Okay.
It's hilarious when you see guys enter the portal. Like, we've already had commitments, and I don't think that's technically allowed yet. Like Max Johnson, for example.
Where's he going?
Son of Brad.
Yeah.
Transferring from Texas A&M. He's already committed to North Carolina. So clearly there's
So when A&M fired Jimbo,
touche, coach
you
leaving.
can enter the portal.
Touche.
Oh, it starts like
so
that.
that's the difference.
That's
So
Michigan
yeah,
State kids too.
if a
Okay.
coach is terminated mid-season, it opens up a 30-day window pretty
commit
close to
somewhere
immediately for players
Because people
to
did
enter.
this yesterday with Riley Leonard, the Duke quarterback. He entered the portal. People weren't sure what he was going to do. Now this, I guess, applies. Mike Elko leaving, and immediately crystal ball's in for Notre Dame. Immediately, it's this kid's going to Notre Dame.
Is it that's that projection, Riley Leonard to Notre Dame?
Riley Leonard to Notre Dame.
I was actually wondering if Washington would jump into those waters. I was thinking about Riley Leonard.
I'd love for my team to jump into those waters too. I think Auburn was the other one that was given a hint of a chance. I don't know if he's a Southeast kid, wants to stay down there, or he's coming up to Notre Dame. I don't know, but Notre Dame's the crystal ball for a lot of folks.
Which conference title game does less for you guys as a sports fan? I'm trying to rack my brain on Saturday how I
the Big
feel.
12.
It's easily Big Ten.
Oh.
Oh, I'm a little more curious about that than the Big 12.
Curious about
I
what?
think
What are you curious
What are we
about?
curious about?
With Iowa?
if Iowa's defense
With a
can keep
backup
them in another
quarterback?
game.
No.
Did you watch the Nebraska game?
No.
I did.
Oh,
They will not score more than 7 points in that
I
game.
know they're not going to
Michigan
score
might
on
only
Michigan.
score 20.
The question is, how long can the defense keep it a game?
Not long.
I don't
Iowa
think very
sucks.
long.
I
Iowa's a
think
bad
Texas
football
is going to
team.
roll Oklahoma State.
You do?
Yeah.
See, it's interesting. What's interesting to me is I kind of believe Texas will win, but Dirt said this yesterday, and you said it right there as we go to Chris Fetters. Why is Texas so trustworthy for everybody all of a sudden? Like, because they beat Texas Tech by 80? I don't know, man. Texas they've had a great year. Sark's had a great year. There's not a dispute about that.
Texas is back.
They're going to the SEC. Let's wait and see on that. But Texas is not as trustworthy as people are making them out to. I'm a little surprised how trustworthy people are on Texas.
I think the argument would be those eked out games that they had late in the year were because Quinn Ewers was out and they were playing with their backup quarterback. A handful of those games too were games that they had big leads. And
Was he in that game against, was it TCU? They were like 26
He
to
did not. I
6.
don't believe he played that. He missed like 3 games in that stretch.
I couldn't remember which game. They had blown that big lead and almost lost, but they ended up winning.
Yeah, let
and
me
I couldn't
look
remember
up-
if Ewers was quarterbacking it because I was keeping an eye on that game off and on.
So he missed. He got hurt in the Houston game, which they almost lost, and then he missed the BYU game and he missed the Kansas State game. He did play, to your point, he did play against TCU.
They almost blew that
And they
game.
almost blew that game. They were close against Iowa State. So I guess to be
You shouldn't
fair,
be close against Houston. Houston fired Holgerson. They're awful.
yeah. I mean, I see the point there. I just don't know how much credit anybody's willing to give Oklahoma. Is Oklahoma State good? I don't know if they're good.
Well, they've been one of the luckiest teams in
yes,
football.
they have.
But also, Texas is not, it doesn't feel like Texas is suffering the same thing the Huskies are, where the Huskies have won close games, and it's like, oh, man, the Huskies, I think they're a little fraudulent. Watch the
Interesting
Ducks. Texas has kind of been the same thing, but nobody is putting that on them
Interesting point.
the way that they've put that on watch. I just find that interesting as a college football fan.
I think the majority of it has to do with their opponent. If they were playing Oklahoma, maybe the tone would be different. I just think it's Oklahoma State, and we don't know what to make of them.
Chris Fetters, dogman.com, joins the show. Get his thoughts on the Pac-12 title game tomorrow. Is he feeling confident, or does he think Oregon's going to be able to do this? Is Penix hurt? We have a lot to talk about with Chris Fetters. Coming up next, Ken Barkley at 8. We'll get to the Trent Bray audio from the press conference as well. Dirt and Sprague back with more. But first, Swag with the sports update.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Spray.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on the Fan, Trent Bray had a seat on the plane with Jonathan Smith to go to East Lansing, but He felt an obligation to his players and his alma mater, and Wednesday he was introduced as the next head coach of the Oregon State football program, even with all the uncertainty regarding their long-term future to remain a Power 5 program. Little over 24 hours before the Ducks and Huskies rematch in the final Pac-12 championship game in Las Vegas, Oregon holding as a 9.5-point favorite. You'll hear that game right here on The Fan tomorrow, kickoff at 5 o'clock. Tonight on The Fan, Seahawks with a Thursday night game for the second straight week. They are clinging to the final playoff spot in the NFC, taking on the Cowboys in Dallas. 5:15 kick. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 3. Dallas 9-point favorites in Seattle. Running back Kenneth Walker, the third, doubtful to play. Trailblazers continue their road trip tonight in Cleveland, looking for a third win in their last 4 games. 4 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Portland currently 11.5-point underdogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. And college hoops down in Corvallis. Beavers looking to get right, hosting UC Davis. 7 o'clock tip on Pac-12 Oregon. Beavs currently 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Every day, get the NFL headlines delivered you've heard about, and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, Daily Ticker time here on a Thursday. Let's take a look at tomorrow's Pac-12 championship game from the other angle. Oregon and Washington. You can hear it right here on The Fan. 5 o'clock kick in Las Vegas. Winner likely going to the college football playoff. If the Huskies win, they're obviously in. Oregon wins, they're likely in. Chris Fetter's joining us now at Chris_Fetters on Twitter. Dogman247. Chris, good morning to you. Hey, how are Husky fans feeling about this one? I think Oregon fan is like cautiously confident, if that makes sense, knowing that, hey, you still got to play the game, but they love their chances. Washington already won the first matchup. How are Husky fans feeling going into this one?
Oh, I think they're pretty sick to their stomachs right now. I mean, if truth be told, I mean, this is the game. This is the game all the sickos want. This is the game that Oregon fans wanted ever since the game in Seattle for obvious reasons, and all the diehards across the country want to see if this game between Oregon and Washington it was legit. Like, can they repeat what they put on tape at Husky Stadium? And yeah, bottom line is that Washington's going to be the only team out of this entire playoff scenario that's going to have to go back and do what they did again to be justified to get into the playoff. And no matter what happens tomorrow, they can still say they beat everybody on their schedule. But yeah, if you're a Washington fan, it's just kind of like, okay, well, if this is how it has to be, this is how it has to be. But in an ideal world, they picked a horrible time to go 12-0.
That is wild to hear out loud, and that's part of the reason sometimes college football bothers me. It's like, hey, this amazing team with this dream season. Guess what? You're not playing your best football. You're punished for your one loss if it happens.
I mean, to his point, Michigan gets Iowa in the Big Ten championship because they still have divisions. They don't have to go play Ohio State again.
Because they should be playing, technically, they should be playing Arizona, right? If you did the division
If
thing.
it was divisions, it would be Arizona, yeah.
Chris, help us with this, because I'd actually go a step further. Maybe I'm wrong, because Dirt over there is more of a Duck than I would ever be, but I feel like Duck fan is kind of like, we're going to win this game. They're playing great football. Bo Nix is going to probably win the Heisman, and Washington has had some struggles against teams that don't have necessarily the most respect in the conference. Is Penix hurt? It feels like Washington's been vague and coy about this. He's been seen wincing, like, since that Oregon game. It feels like he's been dealing with an injury. And for obvious reasons, they're being weird about it, saying he's sick. No, he's got cramps. Like, it feels like he's hurt. What do you think?
Well, I have a few thoughts on this. I would say, first of all, no one is 100% this time of the year. So everyone is banged up to a certain extent. I don't care if you're Bo Nix. I don't care if you're Rome Odunze. I don't care if you're, Franklin. I don't care who you are. You're going to be dealing with a certain amount of nicks and dings when you get into basically December. And the other thing is that if Michael Penix was truly hurt, he wouldn't be dealing with the media every single week. They wouldn't, first of all, post-game, they wouldn't allow him to talk if he was actually that injured. And so there's that. And then just the other thing is that if he is hurt, or if he is, to me, there's a difference. And you guys may think this is a distinction without a difference, but I see it differently. I think there's a difference between someone who thinks that Michael Penix Jr. is hurt as opposed to just not being right. And I think that there are things that you can point to where you look at him and it's like, okay, the accuracy numbers have gone down about 2 or 3% every single month on month from September, for instance. And you look at some of the things, because if you look at things like velocity, and if you look at things like that, there's nothing wrong with Michael Penix in terms of throwing. In fact, if anything, you could claim that pretty much he hasn't thrown the ball with as much touch maybe as we saw in September. I've seen a lot of fastballs, and I think a lot of it is based on the fact that maybe he feels like he's not recognizing things as quickly or playing with as much anticipation as he was early on, and really finding that groove with his receivers, and that just that split-second delay is putting in his mind, I got to get this in fast because I'm late. And so there's that going on. And then you also add into the fact that Jalen McMillan is just starting to come back. Giles Jackson has been hit and miss because they're trying to get his 4 games in so that he can redshirt to be available for 2024. That did happen. He didn't play in the Apple Cup to allow him to do that. but he'll be back tomorrow. And then Jalen Polk hasn't had a catch or anything the last 2 games. Now that's a guy that needs to get right as well. So you're starting to get this accumulation thing where, maybe Penix is a little late on throws, and so he's really had to zip them in, and that's hurt his accuracy numbers. You've seen his reliance on Rome Odunze, and no offense to Rome Odunze, you would love to be reliant on that guy all the time because I think he's a legitimate Biletnikoff winner. I mean, he should be. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you get reliant on that, it becomes a one-trick pony. Now, all of a sudden, that can also affect your numbers. So I think there's a lot of things really affecting Michael Penix right now. And this is not a get-right game for him. You don't get right against a top-5 team, even in a neutral site. But they do have to – Ryan Grubb, the Washington offensive coordinator, does need to find opportunities where they can get him quick throws, easy throws, get him into this game so that he can get back into the Michael Penix that everyone knows and has seen all year long.
Interesting.
That was a great answer.
That was a really good answer. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nuance to this, right? I'm with you on that. It's not just as simple as saying, hey, he's banged up, he's been banged up, and then some games it shows up and some games it doesn't. I do want to ask you about another guy who I thought was kind of an unsung hero of their win in Seattle, and it was, I believe, his first 100-yard game of the season at that point, and Dylan Johnson, who had had the massive game against USC. It was good against Utah. They leaned on him a little bit the last couple of weeks.
Good against Oregon State.
Good against Oregon State. Like, he seems to be a little banged up. It was kind of coming in and out of the game. So what are they saying about him, and how big of an impact do you think the running game can have this weekend? Because, the numbers don't jump off the page, but I thought those little 5-6 yard runs in that game in Seattle were massive just to keep Oregon balanced defensively.
Oh, yeah. One of the big talking points out of that Oregon-Washington game was the fact that Dylan Johnson gave them enough run to be able to open things up for Michael Penix so he could throw 4 touchdowns, right? So they were able to keep that deep strike part of their game plan in because the Oregon defense had to stay honest. They couldn't just play, their zones or play their coverage behind and just not worry about the run because Dylan Johnson was a legitimate run threat. Now, if you want to talk about Dylan Johnson dealing with injuries and having to get right that way, I'm 100% on board with that because, he's been in a boot the last couple of weeks and he's really had to fight through the ankle stuff. You could see it in the Apple Cup. He would come in, run some plays, and then he'd have to go back and kind of get himself back up because he was a little hobbled at times in that game. So there is no question he is fighting through it. I don't know if he's fighting through it. I don't know if you guys are aware, like Jaquindon Jackson at Utah, he was kind of the whole year. He was kind of dealing with a pretty big ankle thing, and he would come in for a couple plays here and there. I don't think it's as severe as what Jackson was dealing with per se, but it is something to definitely watch tomorrow because Dylan Johnson has been a huge part this last month, obviously starting with Oregon, but then the USC game was really the high point where he became something on a whole different level where he even admitted it shocked him how good it was. But if they can get let's put it this way, guys. I would think if you're Washington and you're Ryan Grubb, if you can get 100 yards out of Dylan Johnson tomorrow night, you've got to feel very, very confident about your chances of putting up a lot of numbers.
I hate doing this to you, Chris. You've been a good friend of the program all year. We don't have a lot of time on our clock here, so it's a two-parter for you. What do you think what's going to happen tomorrow in your opinion, and how have the players and coaches taken being 2-score underdogs as the 12-0 team who beat this team earlier this year? How have they handled what kind of the noise has been around how most people feel about this game?
Well, I'll take the second question first. We did talk to the players this week about it and asked a couple of them point blank. One of them was Jack Westover, the senior tight end. And he basically, you just laid it out. You're a double-digit dog to a team you beat, and you're a top 3 team in the country, unbeaten, and yet no one thinks you're going to win this game. And his answer was, he had a one-word answer, good. I mean, that's just their whole mantra this year, guys, has been us versus us. They just feel like they are the only team that can beat themselves. It's just that's it. If they get out of their own way and they just execute, do what they do, they could beat anybody. And so far, that's proven to be true. And I also saw a statistic that kind of blew my mind, but more I thought back on it was like, oh my God, if Washington could keep Oregon to under 40 points, they're unbeaten under Kalen DeBoer. They're 20-0. So it's 40 points. It's 40 points doable for this defense. That's that. So when you talk about keys to the game, holding them under 40 points has been a pretty good barometer for how things have gone under Kalen DeBoer. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, you talk to the coaches this week, they are adamant they've got to win the turnover battle. That's something they didn't do in Seattle. They've got to win the turnover battle because those kind of plays, those kind of sudden change plays loom huge in a game that can be this nip and tuck. And the other thing is, they just got to get it to the fourth quarter. Because if they can get it to the fourth quarter, even if they're down maybe a score or if they're down 3 points or something like that, Washington has been tested in almost every way imaginable this season. We don't know if we can say that necessarily about Oregon because they've been so dominant. And that should not be taken as a knock against the Ducks. That's a huge plus. And that's clearly the reason why they're double-digit favorites tomorrow night, right? I mean, that's why they are, is because everyone thinks they're just going to blow the doors off whoever they play. Yeah. And rightly so, because they have a track record of doing that. But Washington also has a track record because everyone's taking this as a negative, but I'm looking at it the other way and saying, hey, when you get into the fourth quarter and you're midway through it and the water is getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, who's been there before? And who's been there before many, many, many times before and has figured out a way to win games many, many, many times before? That's Washington. That's what they've done. They've won their last 8 games by 10 points or less, and I think 9 or 7 of those are by 7 points or less. So this is a team that just figures it out. And guys, I already picked against Washington with an Oregon-based team earlier this year, and it didn't work out well for me. So I'm really, really torn. Come to dogman.com, figure out what our predictions are, because we'll have them first thing in the morning.
There we go.
And I clearly don't know who I'm going to pick. I really, truly don't know. I'm torn right now. I just don't know.
Yeah, I love it. I can't wait for the game, man. Chris Fetters at Chris_Fetters on Twitter, Dogman247. Enjoy watching the game tomorrow. Thanks as always for the time, Chris, and hopefully we can catch up again here soon.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
You too. There you go. Chris Fetters. I want to pick up where he left off there. We're not going to have a lot of time. Ken Barkley coming up top of the hour. But you brought this up yesterday, too, and I think it's one of the biggest fears that I have about this game. We'll get to that coming up next on The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
Arkansas liked Bobby Petrino. I mean, and you can see why. He came there and he won. And then, of course, left under, inauspicious circumstances. But Coach Petrino, he went back there a couple of years ago, actually to Arkansas, made it a point to speak to some touchdown clubs, not only to thank the fan base, but to apologize for the way things went down. I think it makes total sense.
Yeah, there's the weirdo on the Weirdo Network, Matt Stinchcomb, SEC Network. Of course, Bobby Petrino coming back to Arkansas. It's a great move. Why would you not do it?
Look, he apologized, okay? People move on. It just means more. Just win, baby.
Who's stinking it up? The ugliness of the SEC. Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's 3
NFL Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, I want to set the scene for the final hour real quick because now we got tweets coming in. You just sent out a quote from Chris Fetters. Husky fans are all fired up. You, dud. And there's a tweet that we need to get to in the final hour. So we'll get to that. I had to defend your program yesterday, which I did not think was going to be the case.
Why did Swag said that almost with a smile?
I love it. Because we told him he's too hot on our headphones, so now he sounds like a jazz FM radio DJ, and it's just delightful. It's beautiful.
Smooth.
Hello, go to break soon. So I had to defend your program yesterday randomly, and I want to get to that in the final hour of the show.
Oh, you defended Oregon State?
I might have found a new rival for you if you want somebody else to hate to add to your bingo card. So I'll get to that in the final hour of the show.
All right.
And Ken Barkley. But I want to get to something. You brought this up yesterday. Fetters just did. To me, one of the bigger concerns I have in the game is their experience in one-score games. I think there's a confidence on that sideline, whether it should be or not, but we've been through it. If this game is 31-28 with 4 minutes to go and we got the ball, I think there's a belief we're going to find a way to score, or we're going to find a way to get a stop. Oregon has been so dominant this year. They have had 2 games all season within 1 score in the fourth quarter.
Texas Tech and
Washington. Those are the only. They have not played a game since Washington that has been within 1 score in the fourth quarter.
I heard something yesterday on the Fan, and I thought it was interesting takeaway, but I did hit on that because you cannot buy Washington all you want, not you, but the theoretical you, because they've been in these close games against not so great teams. I think it's pretty commendable and pretty awesome to get through that. Eventually you stub your toe and you fall, and they haven't yet. I heard Harrington on primetime making the case of the Heisman, and he ends it by saying, if I need to drive to win the game, take Bo Nix. And I'm like, Penix literally beat Oregon in a drive to win the game, and Bo Nix and Oregon came up short on 4th down. So, the measurements, even the viewpoints of this matchup, it's so heavily leaned Oregon that Fetters highlighting if it gets to the fourth quarter in the close game. I'm not saying Oregon can't win.
They just have more experience with it.
They've done this. They've done it on the road. They've done it at home.
8 straight weeks. They've done it.
It's unbelievable. And they seemingly make the play when they need to make the play. The reverse to Odunze in the Apple Cup.
Yeah.
The throw on the sidelines for 1st down on a 3rd and kind of long at Oregon State in a hostile environment. They have been tested, and they've come out of that clean. We're still undefeated. And again, not saying Oregon can't do it, but if it gets tight, final 5 minutes of a close game, there's going to be a lot of confidence, I think, on that Washington sideline that they can do it. I don't know if they will, but I think that they can.
Yeah, that's my big fear. You got a tight game late. They have more experience in these games. Oregon hasn't played in a lot of them, and they're just more comfortable in those moments. But we'll see. Game is tomorrow. I can't wait. I want to get to something the Husky fan tweeted because we need to talk about that in the final hour. I defended your program yesterday. We'll get to that. I got some other college football notes, including transfer portal stuff. Trent Bray audio. We're going to run out of time again today. That's how it works. We'll start with Ken Barkley, though, to kick out the final hour next on The Fan.
Colder
from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, even with an offer to join Jonathan Smith's staff at Michigan State, Trent Bray felt an obligation to his players and his alma mater and was introduced as the new head coach of the Oregon State football program on Wednesday, even with the uncertainty regarding their long-term future to remain a Power 5 program. We're a little over 24 hours away from kickoff in Las Vegas. The Pac-12 championship game, a rematch between the Ducks and Huskies. Oregon, despite losing the first time, is a 9.5-point favorite. You'll hear it right here on The Fan. 5 o'clock kick. Our live pregame coverage starts at 1 p.m. This afternoon on The Fan, it's Seahawks on Thursday night. Once again, they are clinging to the final playoff spot in the NFC in Dallas to take on the Cowboys. 5:15 kick. Pregame coverage starts at 3. Dallas a 9-point favorite. Seattle going to be without running back Kenneth Walker III. Blazers road trip stops in Cleveland tonight to take on the Cavs. Portland looking for a third win in their last 4 games. 4 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Blazers currently 11.5-point underdogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at SpiritMountain.com.
Go deeper on the Trailblazers. The Rose Garden Report with host Sean Hyken. Download the Rose Garden Report on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Oregon.
I think this game's 100% on me. I don't think you guys got to look anywhere else besides me.
Washington.
Take it in and understand the place and history of the program and understand what 12-0 really took to get to this point.
This is a Pac-12 Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
We faced moments of adversity. Our guys never flinched.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, and live on YouTube. Good morning to you all. If you're just getting in your car, we love you. If you're watching, listening, thank you. Got a lot to get to in the final hour of the show. I think a fan base is lying.
Oh.
We have to get to your new head coach who talked yesterday.
Yes.
And I defended your program, and I want to tell that story. So we got a lot to get to here in the final hour of the show. But on the line is the host of You Better You Bet, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider Ken Barkley. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. Also be sure to listen to the You Better You Bet podcast. For more of Ken Barkley's analysis, just search You Bet wherever you find your podcast. Where are you, Ken? Are you at a train station, a restaurant? What's going on?
Oh, I don't know. They could have not had my audio come through until I started talking. I was going downstairs.
Oh, okay.
I was going downstairs. My wife was taking a work call.
Oh, okay.
We played. We have a good Thursday tradition. Actually, literally right before you call me every Thursday, we drop our son off at school. Our daughter takes the bus, and then play tennis for an hour. Go to a coffee shop, get food, and then hustle back here. And then I do this interview. Oh. So you were always catching me post-workout. I'm usually spicy and in a pretty good mood and full of egg sandwich or something.
That's so good.
So play that sound effect. That's what I was doing 20 minutes
ago. Yeah, 20 minutes ago. Do an egg sandwich. I love that. When was the last time Ken Barkley was nervous for a sporting event?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Actually, this is a pretty as a fan or as a bettor.
You know what? I want to take betting away.
Go
betting
fan.
Obviously makes you nervous, but let me give you a quick example. I'm not an Oregon alum. I'm not a Washington alum. When they played earlier this year, I sat on my couch, and even I felt the electricity and the moment, and I was kind of nervous. I don't know who's going to win. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. And a lot of people out here obviously have that for tomorrow. What was the last time you felt that?
Oh man, I even not as a sports fan really anymore. I grew up a fan of the Boston, New England teams, but once you bet and you bet a lot, maybe this isn't true for everybody, but once you bet and bet a lot, I don't even care what my teams do anymore. I just don't care.
You're dead inside.
As a fan, well, this is definitely not the last time I was nervous, but I used to work at ESPN for a really long time, and I would produce and supervise the highlights and video for SportsCenter, especially for significant sporting events, right? So my dad went to North Carolina. I grew up a North Carolina basketball fan. I have cousins that went there. My parents live in the Carolinas. And so they played Villanova in the national championship, which is the Chris Jenkins shot, for people who remember that game. And I worked that night. And I not only was I a Carolina fan, I followed the team the whole year. Marcus Page, their star guard, was one of my favorite players ever. And And so I like followed the team the whole time, and they're playing in the title game, and it's like a pick'em kind of a point spread. I think Carolina might have even been a 1-point favorite, and I had a lot of money on Carolina to win the title from the start of the season. They went off at 10-1, which is a low price, but they were like one of the best teams going into the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to, and I think everybody probably wants to work at ESPN, and like, yeah, it's awesome. Also, when your team is involved in like an absolute like gut rip out moment, like on, national television at the end of a game, and you have to like be really professional and do your job and like turn stuff around really fast and cut video. And you I had to like work really hard during a moment like Page. So people who don't remember this game, Marcus Page hits, I think, one of the great 3-pointers in college basketball.
Agree.
Which is Carolina goes on, I think, a 10-0 run to tie the game, which is capped by this Page 3-pointer that sets up the Jenkins play.
Yeah.
And Page hits this 3, and I do some kind of weird like jumping like cartwheel in like an edit room while I'm like putting together video, because I'm like kind of like using my hands to cut the video, but like my feet's kind of like those Christmas ornaments that's like a jumping jack, and you like pull the string and the legs like go flying.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm working with my hands, but the legs are like doing crazy stuff. I also did that when Ray Allen hit the 3 against the Spurs in Game 6. I was like cutting that video, but also like my feet were uncontrollable and they were like doing stuff because it was a crazy moment. So yeah, just like I remember like that possession and Jenkins and like what happened. I mean, I had money too. Like it was the combination of, you're a fan. This is how Oregon and Washington fans are probably going to be this weekend. Yeah. You probably bet your team to win the Pac-12, right? You probably bet your team. Honestly, I know a lot of some Oregon fans bet them to win the national championship this year, and like you're not getting in if you lose to Washington again. So yeah, I know, a long story, but like I'm guessing that's what a lot of the Pac-12 people are feeling right now.
You gave us really good anecdotes. You give us great stories. I caught a lot of your show this week, and one moment stuck out for me. You were telling Big Cat of Barstool. He was asking you. Basically, it was just him getting on the show to ask you for the gambling advice, which I actually really enjoyed. And he shamed you into following him. But you said something to him, and I heard it in my car, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this on Thursday. Right now, I think if Oregon wins tomorrow, I think the committee's going to slot them 3. Assuming Georgia wins, I think Michigan stays at number 2. I think we're going to get a Rose Bowl matchup. We had a look-ahead line, and you told Big Cat something, and I shook my head. And I'm ready to do like a little Venmo beer bet with you since we don't live near each other. I think Oregon is going to beat Michigan. You said, what future? Bet Michigan to win the national championship. I don't watch Michigan and think that. I think Michigan's going to lose their first playoff game, and I think Oregon's going to beat them. Why are you so confident in Michigan? It feels like if Blake Corum doesn't average 3.3 yards per carry, their offense stinks. I don't trust McCarthy. Why are you so confident in Michigan? Do you want to take the bet?
So the bet would be just like Michigan, Oregon, and like a pick in the semifinal or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know what that market would go off at. Oregon might go off a favorite in that game.
Oregon's like 2-point look-ahead line. Favorite. Yeah, 2-point.
Yeah, favorite. But we all kind of know that you understand like the flimsy nature of look-ahead lines. To be fair, but I think the point is like we're in the neighborhood, right? It's like less than 3 either way, probably. Yeah. And I think if Oregon like blasts Washington, then they'll probably go off like a small favorite in the game. Yeah, I mean, I'll just make like a pick 50-50. Like, wow, you're actually getting value on. Like, I'm giving you pick, which I should give you -2. Yeah, what's the bet? Like, what do we have to? Do you want to think about something? Think about like a play.
It's like a nice little maybe a pizza or a beer or something. Not like $5.
How about
but...
I got this. You got we have in Connecticut. We have like a 10 out of 10. Like Christmas gift basket company that's unique to Connecticut. Oh. Like it's Stu Leonard's is the name of it. And it's like literally like the best like snack gift baskets going. I don't know what Oregon's got. Like, I don't know what your thing is. Salmon maybe, or I don't know, whatever. Duck. But like whatever it is, like waterways. I don't know.
We got cheese. We got cheese, and we got great weed out here. Ken, are you a weed guy?
Send me a flannel shirt. Yeah, hey, whatever it is. Yeah. So whatever you guys got, bicycling. I don't know, whatever you guys have that's really good. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop with the one.
Keep naming things. Keep naming things.
We're gonna send you a chunk of bike lane. That's what we're gonna send you.
Yeah. Hashtag Rip City. Let's get it. So I actually really like Oregon. I don't know why I just did that. So whatever you guys have, that's like some kind of like custom Oregon thing. I'll send your studio a Stu Leonard's gift basket.
Okay.
If they have to play and it's winner of the game.
Yeah.
And then you have to send me for Christmas something like of an equivalent value that's like a gift basket kind of a thing from Oregon.
Very
Cool?
fair. Very fair. Yes.
You got it.
That's
Yes.
a great deal.
Would
I
you
like this
Would you
bet.
like to know why I like Michigan now? Would
I
you
would.
like to know the answer to that
Yes.
question?
I do.
All right. So I do watch the games. I understand that Oregon's really good. I am not saying they should not be favored in the game or the game shouldn't be close. I do like a lot of statistical analysis during the year and before the year. And I have like a really good historical database of teams that make deep playoff runs and win the national title. And sure, Oregon like checks out really well in a lot of those categories, as you can imagine. So does Michigan, so does Georgia. Michigan's just always checked out the best. So whatever it is about title teams that they do really well, Michigan is the most qualified so far this year. Of like that's the best way I can put it. So like Georgia can win and Oregon can win. I don't know if anybody else can win. It might just be those three teams. But like of the work that I do on it, yes, those teams can win. I would just view Michigan as like, in terms of who has won the title previously, what they do well, what Michigan's good at. I would actually view them this year as the most likely team to win. That's the only reason I like them. It's not that I think like Oregon's bad or Bo Nix. Bo Nix is like the most accurate, efficient passer in the history of college football. Like I'm not going to come on here and be like, well, have you seen these slant routes? Like he's not very good. Like I'm not that stupid. Like Oregon's awesome. It's like the best Oregon team ever. The defense is insane.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. Like the playoff rankings, I hated. Can you believe that Georgia was still one? Michigan beat Ohio State. How were they not one for 1 week?
I agree with
How
that.
does that make any sense?
Yes.
And it's a huge thing this year. It's a huge. Who would you rather play, Oregon or like Florida State with like Danny Kanell as the quarterback? Like who would you rather
not
play?
even close.
It never matters. Like every year, who cares who's the one? Who cares who's the two? Because the 3 and the 4 are often very interchangeable, or the 4 might be way better sometimes than the 3. Like it never matters. And this year, it's the most important thing by like a factor of 1 billion. If Florida State wins and you're Georgia or you're Michigan, who would you rather play? The best Oregon team ever or this stupid team that's like never going to win, that's going to be a 20-point underdog? So like I couldn't believe, like I hold a lot of Michigan positions. I could not believe, even if Georgia took back the 1 next week by beating Alabama, like even if that happened, how is Michigan not 1 right now?
I agree.
Georgia's played nobody. Michigan beat Penn State and Ohio State. Like I don't get it, and now I'm like really sad because there's no chance they can be the 1. Like I have to play you. We have to do the gift basket bet. It's really sad.
Yeah, the only chance would be if Georgia loses to Alabama, that could throw a curveball in.
Then they're the 1
Then
seed,
Michigan
yes.
would rise
You're
up.
gonna get both SEC teams in maybe, and they'll have to put them on opposite sides to make it work too.
Yeah.
So you'll have I don't even know what you would have there. You'd probably have Georgia the 3 and Alabama the 4 would be my guess, or like Alabama 3, Georgia 4, and they would like quote unquote play at, but not. Like Oregon and Michigan probably would be how they would do that, but it would be really screwy. It would be really wild. Yeah.
We're just hoping that does not happen. Let's go Georgia this weekend. I don't want Alabama in the playoff.
Let's go Louisville too.
Yeah,
honestly.
get Florida State out of there.
It's all Well, now that Michigan can't play them, now that I don't gain anything from them making it, I want them to lose.
I got to throw an NFL line at you, Ken. You usually make fun of me with these. Last week you supported me. I want to see if you support this one as well. I locked in a bet. I saw the line was less than 3. I've circled this game on my calendar all year. It's a non-red zone Sunday afternoon. 49ers and Eagles. I love the 49ers this weekend.
Hammered them, Ken. He said
I'm hammering the 49ers this weekend.
Yeah.
Am I an idiot?
No. What number did you get?
I got it at 2 because it bumped all the way up to 3, and I was terrified it was 3, and I looked, it was a 2.5, and I jumped on it because I wasn't sure where it was going to go the rest of the week.
Yeah, so we got some. I didn't know where it was going to go during the week either. Everyone we've talked to on the show, I think this will make you feel better, actually. Everybody we've talked to on the show this week likes the Niners in the game. Former players, analysts, people who bet. Everybody likes San Francisco. Everybody thinks San Francisco has a ton of advantages. Everybody thinks that Philly's defense is finally going to get real. Like, they got exposed a couple times already this year, like last week especially, but that they'll like really get exposed this week, especially like over the middle of the field where they're really not good and where the Eagles are, or the Niners are awesome. Like, that's their area of expertise, like Deebo Samuel over the middle and Kittle and all this stuff. The number is like kind of 2.5. I don't like disagree with the number. I guess my problem is, isn't it just possible that the Eagles are winning in a way that's like really tough to capture statistically? So they're like really good and they win all the time, but because it kind of looks bad, that this is what happens and they get rated like this. Like, I actually couldn't believe the Buffalo number last week. And when I went to 2.5, I bet the Eagles for a little bit. I bet them when the game went to overtime. Like, they're winners. And I like betting on winners. I just got to be honest. Yep. So, and it's not that the Niners aren't winners. They win a lot of games too. Now that it's 3, I don't know if I'm going to bet Philly. It would be my only look. We got some intelligence that, like, my big thing is Lane Johnson going to play in the game? The Eagles' right tackle. When he doesn't play, the on-off stuff is like, I mean, you think he's like LeBron James with the Lakers with the on-off numbers. It's really unbelievable. And we got some intel he's going to play. That's what we were told. And I don't know if that's going to be true. Like, I'm not reporting that. We got told, like, I think he's going to play by somebody who knows. And if he plays and it's 3, if it's 3, I would only bet the Eagles. But I don't blame anybody less than 3 who's like, you know what? I don't believe in the Eagles defense. Hurts is playing with an injury. Like, at some point, someone's going to clip him. Like, I don't know. I hate betting bad numbers against winners. That's the best way I can put it.
Eagles are a good tease team for me this week, and I don't know who's going to win the game in a margin of 3, but I'll take Philly with a ton of points at home to at least
make it blown out.
Right, exactly.
Getting blown out of the game.
Yeah,
seems unlikely. Can definitely happen. Just seems unlikely.
Yeah.
We had our listener Steve text in as you were ranting about things from Oregon and said, we got some great meth out here, so we can send you that if that's what you're into.
We had another listener tweet us that there's an made in Oregon store that we have that has all these Northwest things, and they also do a gift basket, so we'll just do that.
I thought we should just send them a pound of weed.
I don't think
like,
you can.
like hemp? Is that what you're going to send me? Like,
hemp,
what are we doing?
Hemp rope?
Skis? Like, what are you sending me? Yeah.
I don't think I can send him a pound of weed. I don't think that. Have you seen the movie Blow? It doesn't go well.
Even in 2023, I don't think that's allowed.
Still frowned upon? Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Obama. Yeah. All right. That was the host of You Better You Bet, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, Ken Barkley, Insider Calls, presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. One of these days, we'll try and do the big cat and shame you into following us on social media, but we can save that for another day. We love you, Ken, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
We do love you, Ken.
Sounds good. I didn't even give you a pick. I like the Broncos a lot. 3.5. So there's my pick.
Spicy. Okay, there you go. Love it. Thanks, Ken.
Yep.
There you go. Ken Barkley every Thursday at 8 o'clock. You're making a bet on my team. I like it. Look at us sticking up for each other. Who would have thought it?
He's a numbers guy. He could very well be right. I'm an eyeball guy. I've seen Michigan play a lot, and I just like that matchup for Oregon. I think if Corum's taken out, you trust McCarthy to sling the rock? I don't know if I've seen a lot of evidence that he can do that.
I tend to agree with
you.
And
that defense is good, but Oregon's a little different to me. I think they're a little different. So if that matchup happens, I'll take that bet.
Okay. If they get through Washington tomorrow night, let's get to your head coach. He was hired and he was introduced in Corvallis yesterday. What do we make of what Trent Bray had to say? That's next on The Fan.
is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
Well, I found a new program for Oregon State fans to hate if you would like.
Would love to.
I did a radio hit in Las Vegas yesterday to preview the Pac-12 championship game. And I thought, all right, yeah, come on, talk Ducks and Huskies, no big deal. The game's in Vegas, I get it. Well, they wanted to start by asking me about Oregon State because the guy follows me on Twitter, and I had sent some tweets to Michigan State fans this week using some language that cannot be said over the air. And he was like, are you like an Oregon State guy? Like, why are you tweeting Michigan State fan that? And I said, well, I have a soft spot for when fan bases jump into our social media ecosystem after stealing a coach. Like, my fan base has gone through this. Florida State fan was insufferable. Miami fan was insufferable. I think about all summer what we went through with Heat fans going after the Lillard stuff, right? It's like, dude, stop. You might get the guy, you might not, but like, stop. Get out of our ecosystem. And Michigan State fan piling on when they had Larry Nassar on staff for 25 years. It's like, dude, shut up, all right? You don't have a ground to stand on. You're not a top 5 program, even in your conference. Like, just get out of here. So that was my argument. I said, I just don't like when people pile on after stealing a coach. And I had made a line in there basically saying, like, I just feel bad for what Oregon State's going through. It's a Power 5 program. They deserve better than this, and they're getting screwed over. Mm-hmm. He then started ranting about how, no, they're not. And how they're a Mountain West program, and the only reason they've been relevant is because they've been sucking the money away from the Pac-12 that Mountain West programs don't get, and now the reality is setting in, and they're not going to be a good program in the Mountain West. And I ended up arguing with a guy in Las Vegas about your team. I was like, what are you talking about? They won 10 games 2 years ago. They won 8 games this year. They're a couple plays away.
Yeah.
They have a bigger stadium than anybody in your conference. They sold out every game. Like, what
were the answers to anything you just said?
He basically said, well, Oregon State fan wasn't nice when all this went down, and they said, we're better than the Mountain West. And I said, well, I don't blame them. They are better than the Mountain West. And he didn't really have a retort to that. But I just want to let you know, if you feel like hating a program in the Mountain West, if that is your future,
UNLV,
welcome UNLV. Come on down.
Actually thought they were a great story in college football this year.
I did too.
I think sometimes we probably venture into these waters from time to time. Like remember we had the Michigan State-Washington game weeks ago. You randomly hear from a Michigan State fan. Guys, actually, and then they give a thought on the program that we don't cover.
Yeah.
We offer opinion all the time on teams. I could be way wrong on Michigan and how I feel about them with the playoff. We're wrong on programs all the time. That's kind of what this sounds like. You got caught on the phone with somebody who has zero idea of what actually happens in the conference and no real understanding of what Oregon State is and was the last couple years. And so he sees this from a viewpoint of way up 10,000 feet above, and he's like, I don't know, man. They're left out, and they don't have a rich donor, and they're in Corvallis, Oregon. They shouldn't exist in that conference. They're a Mountain West team. It's an easy opinion to have if you have no idea what's happening.
It's like, didn't you call me to preview the Pac-12 championship game? Now I've spent 5 minutes arguing about Oregon State Power 5 status. What is happening right now? Am I becoming a Beaver? Have I been adopted by Beaver fans?
You might next year when they play Michigan State for sure.
Look, I told a Beaver fan who DM'd me the other day, I said, if you guys do end up in the Mountain West, I'm rooting like hell for you. And I mean, our schools might continue to play, might not. I don't know what that's going to look like. Now that we're no longer in the same conference, I'm I will support your school. I know Beaver fan hates that, and I get it. I don't ask you to do the same for Oregon. It's not a two-way street. I get it. But I'll be like, when you guys play Boise State, am I going to root for Boise State to beat you?
I would hope not.
What do I get out of that?
Smurf turf?
Fresno State? Am I going to root for Fresno State?
No.
Maybe Wyoming. Wyoming has cool jerseys.
Have you been to Fresno, though?
I have not been to Fresno. I have been to Laramie, though.
You've been to Laramie?
I have been to Laramie. Yeah, Wyoming's a beautiful state, man.
Why were you in Laramie?
7,200 feet of elevation.
Yeah. We did a Jackson Hole trip when I was a kid.
Were you fat dirt or skinny dirt at this point?
I mean, I was like third grade dirt. Young dirt, little dirt.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to fat shame little dirt.
Pudgy dirt?
No.
I was probably pudgy, yeah.
Did you feel the elevation?
I don't remember much about it. I remember going to like a saloon. It was like, this is kind of cool. Can I wear chaps? And that was kind of it.
Assless chaps?
Assless chaps.
Well, I hope you didn't wear the assless chaps. It would have been weird.
Yeah, seeing a buffalo roam. You're like, hey, it's a buffalo. It's roaming.
I have a take in the back of my brain. I will always be happy for Oregon State football fan. I had a lot of emotion this weekend in DMs from Beaver fan.
Yeah, I don't blame anybody.
If their ultimate fate ends up there, like in 3 years, it's just like it just doesn't happen for them in a bigger conference. My take's going to be let's lean into the basketball programs.
Ooh, okay.
Not to say don't care about football, but like really lean into the baseball, basketball thing. Make it your niche thing.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Go to the Bahamas tournaments in when nobody's paying attention to college basketball, because I would argue that's likely a better thing in terms of being competitive is have a higher demand for the basketball team.
Yeah.
Don't make a tournament one time and extend a coach 8 years out.
You got to get out of that deal first. That's the first step.
Well, it's
Step one.
Did they win yesterday? Somebody told me they played a basketball game, and I don't know.
No, they played tonight.
Oh, they played tonight.
They played in a.
They're in a weird tournament,
the
right?
Beavs. The Beavs were in the NIT preseason NIT back in Brooklyn and lost them both.
My team's got Michigan on Saturday. I know that. Is Michigan any good this year?
Not as good as Michigan teams of the past.
Okay.
People are starting to wonder about old Juwan Howard.
Suck it, Juwan.
And I know you guys are looking, somehow you're looking to add players to your roster.
You can do that?
I didn't know.
Well,
Like
your
now?
your two starting bigs are out recovering
They have no
from
big.
surgery.
How do you add somebody to the roster now? The season already started.
Well, Dana Altman's a wizard at getting every waiver and eligibility thing just magically approved for him. It's been my one thing I've hated about Oregon basketball. Every time Dana Altman needs a player to be eligible or get a waiver approved, he seemingly always gets it. Just the fairy waves it over, and every other program's like, nope, we can't get it. Like, what?
You know why? It's because we bend our knees.
Well, Jackson Shellstad finally got healthy. They're still waiting.
That didn't sound right.
Whoa.
That's a quote. It's a past quote from the show. Don't go there. Head out of the gutter. You got to bend your knees.
Oh, my God. Oh, man.
That backfired incredibly. Should we talk about Trent Bray now?
We get some cuts. I was worried about how he was going to sound at this, given our interview.
Good. Let's get to this on the other
He's been
side.
coached up.
A little bit. I think I talked to somebody on the side said he needs to be a little better at this. It wasn't fun interviewing him at all. And we didn't ask bad questions.
No.
And they were like, he's aware. People have made this aware. I don't know how much better he's going to get, but this was better.
I thought he did really good yesterday.
I did too.
His statement was short and to the point, didn't linger on, and then he was good with the questions. So let's play a little bit of it. We'll get to that coming up next, and then we'll see what else we have time for. We're running out of time again. This always happens. It's just stupid. Here is Swag with SportsCenter.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys you can put your trust in. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan. Trent Bray had an offer to join Jonathan Smith going to Michigan State, but he felt an obligation to his players and his alma mater. And Wednesday, he was introduced as the new head coach of the Oregon State football program. Despite the remaining uncertainty regarding their long-term future to remain a Power 5 program, AD Scott Barnes said he is hopeful to announce their 2024 football schedule by the end of the week. In over 24 hours, the Ducks and Huskies will do it for a second time, this time for a Pac-12 title game in Las Vegas, and quite possibly a spot in the college football playoff. Ducks holding as 9.5-point favorites, 5 o'clock kick here tomorrow on The Fan. Our live pregame coverage will start at 1 o'clock. This evening on The Fan, Seahawks playing on Thursday night for a second straight week. They cling to the final playoff spot in the NFC in Dallas to face the Cowboys. 5:15. Our pregame coverage starts at 3. Dallas 9-point favorites. And Seattle running back Kenneth Walker, the third, doubtful to play, still dealing with an oblique injury. Blazers and Cavaliers from Cleveland tonight. Portland looking for a third win in their last 4 games. 4 o'clock tip on Root Sports Plus. Portland currently 11.5-point underdogs at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager with our sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
It's The Fan on FM. Go to 99.5. Bray.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, let's hear from your new head coach. He was introduced yesterday, Trent Bray, friend of the program. He probably doesn't remember it fondly. We don't remember it fondly, but I am interested to get him back on. We'll see if he turns his interview skills around. And I thought yesterday was a good indicator of what the future could bring. I think these coordinators, sometimes when you interview them, it's like, dude, they're so football-centric. They're not the face of the program. It's like, I don't want to do this. I'm just focusing on my day in and day out. Why am I doing this dumb interview? Yeah. I get nothing out of this. So I'm curious if that does change as the years go by.
I think he's just one of the, he's a Mario type. Like
he's a football guy.
Super into football guy, not often wants to joke a whole lot. It's like, what do you need? I don't really want to do this. Let me get back to my job.
I mean, to be fair, Jonathan Smith was exactly the same. And sometimes interviewing him was incredibly painful.
That's what I was going to say is like, maybe we will talk to him, but like, if we don't, I won't be hurt by it. We play the clips from press conferences and whatnot. I thought yesterday for what that setting was, he did exactly what he needed to do for that.
Agree. I don't know if there's questions in these, so I'll set them up. If the question then plays, I apologize. He was asked, this was a question about when he found out about Jonathan Smith and leaving and just kind of what that timeline was like.
I found out real late in the process, and it didn't sit quite right with me, which is why I wasn't in a hurry to get on the plane when he asked me to go. And then when I was presented this opportunity, I stayed even longer and wanted to hear this out and see where this could go, and best decision I've made.
You know, it's interesting. My fan base went through this a couple of years ago, and I think the reactions have been similar. It's funny how we kind of go through this as a country too, right? Like when we have some sort of shock to the system, some sort of tragedy, it's when you feel the most unity as a country. We all kind of come together, and like we all remember the post 9/11 time of
you think we still have that as a country?
I don't know.
Commend you for that.
I don't know if we do, but I do think through I do think through like shocking times, it's like, all right, let's have the most rational people are like, let's come together and work together to solve this. It's funny. I think the same is true in sports. Like when Cristobal left, like it was a unifying experience for Oregon fans because it was devastating, man. I'm like, this dude's recruiting, and are we going to replace him? Where are we going to go? Another coach leaving. What's the future going to look like? And I'll never forget the Oregon Twitter Spaces and Dan Lanning's like brother jumping in there and talking about Dan.
I remember that.
Rob Mullins was in there, and it was like, yes.
Beaver Spaces have been very much like that.
And that's exactly how you guys have responded. And I think quotes like that of, it didn't sit right with me, and I didn't like how late in the process I found out, man. It's only going to throw fuel on that fire of, it feels like a fan base that has come together in the last week. Now, does that mean anything in the long term? I don't know. But at least in the short term, it does feel like it has unified completely your fan base.
I think there's a way to say it's the answer everybody wanted to hear him say.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think necessarily he's trying to take a shot at Jonathan. I think if you were to spitball, it sounds to me that answer like he found out this kind of the same time or maybe just a little before players that like something's happening this week and it's not the Civil War football game. And that's maybe why that didn't sit well. It's like, dude, we're in the middle of game prep, massive opponent on the road. This team has been untouchable for everybody outside of the Huskies. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're negotiating on the side. I think that's what it is. Again, I don't need to defend Jonathan. Nobody wants to hear it. There isn't a good way to do that. So that was always going to be ugly, but I think he said exactly what Oregon State fan wanted to hear. That didn't sit right with me, and we'll get to another cut here, but I just think kind of his position in this press conference was what they needed to hear.
Somebody texting in that their NIL has raised like $250,000 since
Oh, no,
Smith
dude,
left.
it's higher. They had a $1 million goal on their damn NIL collective, and I believe that got to like 800 and some.
Yeah.
They made another one that's already raised a ton of money. They've got these accounts, like Belligerent Beeves, Digital Dam. They're selling merch, and people are reacting. I said it's very much to me like when Cristobal got hired. The players were active on social media. This is our guy. We want that guy. And I think the administration listened. I think fans and players came together and wanted Bray, and there was no other option. I don't know where the interview process went, but it, to me, felt like not a real one because there wasn't another option for them here. If you would have hired Paul Christ or Matt Wells.
Yeah, it's not the same reaction.
I'm telling you, even more people I think would have abandoned the ship.
And it doesn't mean that those guys couldn't be good coaches. It doesn't mean that Trent Bray is the right guy long term. But I think this is what we talked about yesterday. Short term, this was the move that they had to make.
Yes.
You need to keep the roster together as much as you can. There will be guys that transfer, but you got to keep as much of it together. And you need to galvanize your fan base. Like, I know you as a fan have struggled with this, and I don't blame you at all. Of like, dude, if we end up playing in the Mountain West, I don't know how I feel about it. And I think a lot of Beaver fans share that sentiment. The sad reality is what they need more now than ever in the short term is more investment and more buy-in and more donations.
That stadium has to be packed next year.
More season tickets and all that stuff. And so it's almost a blessing when you look at it, because if Jonathan Smith had not left, this money, are you raising this kind of money? And I'm not saying that it's a good thing that I don't know if I'm going there.
No, I know what you're saying.
But it's just like this kind of money and this kind of galvanized fan base reaction is not happening if Jonathan Smith does not leave. Which is ironic.
There was one thing that I don't know if we'll ever get the answer to it. They've been claiming the entire process, we're investing as if we're a Power 5 program.
Yeah.
And I believe them. And I think maybe Bray had something to do with this. His salary is nothing.
$2 million. That's barely he was making $1 million as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah,
he signed a 5-year, $10 million deal.
They're saving a ton of money on not paying Smith or increasing Smith's last salary.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised by those numbers, to the point where I was almost like, are you investing? You should be increasing.
Well, and this
I wonder if there's a lot of incentives in there.
Well, and that's the thing. We didn't find that out. And again, Bray may have been like, dude, I don't need a whole lot of money.
I live in Corvallis,
I live
Oregon.
up the road, and I basically live here for 8 months. So if he did that, then God
$2
bless
million
him.
is good, man. It goes a long ways here.
But I did see that. I was like,
sure. Or you could view it, the positive way to view it would be, he just said, dude, we're struggling financially.
It's very possible.
Like,
yes.
just $2 million is cool, man. I would rather have an elite
that, yeah.
staff
Right.
and just pay me $2 million. Let's get to this, though, because I think the question is, where do they go from here? Here is his belief on building a winner.
Trent, there was a press conference yesterday at Michigan State where the coach seemed to really emphasize that, he was at a place where he truly believed that he can build a winner. My question is, one, when did you know that he was going to be leaving, and do you truly believe that you can build a winner here?
I'll start with the latter. Yeah, I truly believe we can continue to build a winner here. I think we've proven over the last couple of years to be capable of doing that. I found out real late in the process, and it,
Same answer.
it didn't.
Yeah, I'll stop it.
No,
So
but
that was the whole thing. But yeah, he said he truly believes they can build a winner, and he referenced multiple times, not only in the player meeting the night before, and then also in the press conference yesterday, the idea of the college football playoff and an expanded playoff and a pathway for them. And he's hammering that home, saying, man, we have a Power 5 roster. It's expanding. They believe that they have a shot at it. And one other note quickly, and then I'll let you wrap it up. But Barnes had a note of saying that the schedule is going to be released in parcels, basically. So you're going to get a chunk of it here soon.
That's a legality thing.
And I would imagine that's the Mountain West portion of it. Like, that agreement happens. Here's your Mountain West games, and then maybe some of the other stuff will happen down the road. But that is still waiting and still coming.
I'm under the belief they're looking or trying to secure a really big Power 5 game, and maybe they'll try to sell that it's the Purdue one. I don't know, but like, my belief is that they trying to make that happen. The Mountain West thing, we kind of have an idea that is. And so I think the parcels is more just paperwork finished, I's and T's dotted and crossed. The quicker you get that out, the better.
Yes.
He has a massive undertaking here in this way. I don't know what the offensive hires are going to be. They lost Mahalichik. I think that's devastating, because I think that guy's incredibly talented at what he does. You got Damian committed, and it's great. Can you get Childs?
Yeah.
Will Childs stay, or is Childs already gone? I don't know where that sits. That's the big thing for me. Because if you don't, what do you have? I think you'd have DJ with a question mark, and maybe he wants to stay, and maybe up the profile with his draft stock, because you play a lot of Mountain West teams, and you're going to look good in those games.
Get a receiver over 6'2",
or or Cole Branson, I believe, would still have eligibility, and you won with him last year. So You still have options. It's not over in any stretch, but I think that's your big recruiting thing. Can you keep Aiden Childs and Corvallis, or is that ship sailed? I don't know.
The other funny anecdote I have from every coach interview or introduction ever: why do we have to use the smallest jerseys to introduce these guys? Did you see the tiny?
Well,
little
but do
one?
you know the story of it?
Is it actually his jersey?
That's his actual. 44 was his number.
I know
when he
44 was his
played,
number,
and-
but was that his actual? Because remember when Mario was introduced in Miami and they had the toddler jersey and he's holding it like this? It's can we just get a full size jersey?
Well, the
here?
one I saw, because I tried to watch this in the Pac-12 network, kind of sucked, and then I didn't hear it anywhere. And when I went and watched it, I thought it kind of looked like it'd be big enough to fit in pads with a player, and
a little tight, tight
Barnes
fitting,
made a
right?
joke he could probably still fit it in it. He said I could still play 2 plays a game. I liked that they leaned into it a little bit, and I thought he had the right energy and the right answers for almost everything. He how often do these pressers not have home runs?
Yeah, Adam Gase and Nick Sirianni are the only ones ever.
Yeah, well, we had to walk back the Sirianni takes, didn't we?
We did.
And so that's not always the end all be all, but a nice start for Bray area down in Corvallis.
Nobody knows where this is going to go. Nobody knows how this is going to work out. This is all you could control in the short term, and they've done a good job so far. And now we see what the schedule looks like and what they can do to keep the roster together. We'll wrap it up on a Thursday. Get you set for Seahawks and Cowboys. Big deal going on in sports today as well. Wrap it up next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Fan.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, well, we ran out of time again today. Theme of the week. It's been busy, turning and burning. I want to give everybody a shout out who listens to the show. We love you all. We've been getting a lot of those Spotify rap things for the year. And so those are always really cool, man. If you're sending those in, we love you for it. And
I will never reveal any of my Spotify raps.
Ooh, do you want me to show you my Spotify Wrapped?
Not really. I don't care.
You don't care?
I mean, I care what other people's are. I don't care about yours.
Probably a lot of Zach Brown Band on there.
Is there?
A little Chris Stapleton.
That poor band. They never get their names out there.
Nope. Only Zach's the only one that counts.
Zach Bryan?
Yeah, some Zach. I don't know if he's my top 5, but Zach Bryan's probably on there as well.
Okay.
So yeah, want to thank everybody for sending those in. Our YouTube subscribers continue to grow, so thank you for subscribing and liking the video and watching it every day.
And we also understand, like, we know today and tomorrow, big day for Duck Fan, travel-wise. If you're not going to Vegas, we will be the only local option you get on the station tomorrow. There is no Danny Dusty. There is no Isaac and Suk for obvious reasons there.
Hey, back-to-back 3-day work weeks. Nice.
I'd like to be on 6 to 10. It's neither here nor there.
Hell, I'll go 6 to noon if you want tomorrow. I'll just go 6 to 1 and then start the pregame show, bitch. What do you think about that?
You're more than willing to do that. Yeah, I'll be out of here, though. I'm not hanging out for 6 hours.
I'll pay for all the commercials, too.
Yeah, you need to break.
Swag's on the Cowboys tonight. Early Sprague the line pick on your former
-9
on your former gal.
Seahawks are doing a lot of like.
Here come the Cowgirls.
No. We've been better this week.
No,
like
Kenneth
a lot
Walker
of
the third.
Yeah, he's out.
Parsons
the wood.
is fine.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm not spragging the line on it, but I'm betting on the Cowboys tonight too. 5-0 at home.
Yeah. They take care of these teams.
Yeah, I have a hard time.
Seahawks
seeing
are
Seattle win.
floundering, man.
And you know what just happened? And I'm going to go home and do this afternoon.
What?
He just teed off.
Did he?
Welcome back, Tiger.
Tigre.
Welcome back, Tiger.
Yes, the
Hero,
GOAT.
Hero World Challenge.
The GOAT.
Great to have you back.
He's soon to be PGA Tour commissioner, too.
Yes, he is. He should be. Damn it. Make him the president of the United States, too, while you're at it. There you go.
Well, actually, based on what we're doing and how we're voting, most
Let's have
popular
Tiger
guy.
stick to golf. When Tiger sticks to golf, all is good.
That is true.
I don't know what his foreign policies are.
Well, we're going to have a lot on the game tomorrow. We are the only live show on the station tomorrow, so you bet your butt we're going to be previewing it all morning. We got some landing audio we're going to play. It's going to be a fun Friday show. If you missed it, Chris Fetters from dogman.com, he came on earlier. And, of course, Ken Barkley. Go check those Service Patriots podcast, 1080thefan.com. That will do it for us, folks. Thanks for being a part of our Thursday. We will talk to you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Calling us next. Listening to 1080 The Fan.